Please, allow me to show you something.
Run that shit back, man.
What's going on? Welcome back to another Media Man Live on this last day of June. This is our last live stream of the month of June. Man, it's been an amazing Men's Health Month, and this is how we're going to end it. Man, I can't wait. I'm so excited to review. Will help you, put you guys up on some game in regards to the books that I read. Courage to be Disliked by, I'm going to try and say this. My Japanese is not that good. FUMITAKE KOGA and ICHIRO KISHIMI. Okay, I know Ichiro because, I'm a huge baseball fan, so one of Seattle Mariners greats. So, yeah, Ichiro KISHIMI and FUMITAKE KOGA. Okay, I got that right. But, yeah, Courage to be Disliked, man. It's going to be an amazing review. Hopefully put you guys up on some game in regards to how I view things. And some of the things that I actually disagree with the book, because it coincides or it directly butts heads with Sigmund Freud's beliefs. If you guys are if we have any people that study that type of stuff, you will be intrigued by this book, because they do butt heads. I'm talking about Adler and Sigmund Freud. So you guys will definitely understand what I'm talking about once we get into the review. But I specifically picked some chapters that coincide with today's philosophy of social media, which is why I mentioned Sigmund Freud, and how we can work through things as Black men. I know sometimes, we get the short end of the stick when it comes to social media conversations. People have no issues lying on us and things of that nature, but we working through it. I have a platform where I could share the actual information, and hopefully some of this information from the Courage to Be Disliked will encourage you guys just to simply, really dive into seeing the world as it is and not how it should be. And I know that's somewhat easier said than done, but we really, as Black men, we really have to start operating as such. And you may take some losses, but it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be a great book review. I can't wait. But I appreciate you guys being here. We already got 51 folks in the building for a book review. I greatly appreciate it, you guys. Let me go ahead and give shouts out to Pool Man for putting all the links in the description. Greatly appreciated, good brother. Like I said, man, it's June. End of June. This went by fast. And we got Brendan Lavelle with the $20 bomb already. He said, thank you, Media Man, for the Masculine Book Club. Okay. I really hope you continue to do this. As always, very informative, very insightful, and definitely a much needed palate cleansing from the nonsense of the Revolt Review piece. Yeah, man, that Revolt review was, oh, Lord have mercy. It was just too much. But yeah, we worked through it, man. God blessed us Black men to be here, so we're going to be all right, man. I promise you. We're going to definitely be all right. Let's see here. And we got Dante Bryan in the building with the $5 bomb. Let me go ahead and wait. I missed some drops. I owe Brendan Lavelle a drop. Hold on. Let me get you right, good brother.
I took it back to my old energy. And she telling me she feel the chemistry. That's bullshit. She just know I'm rich, but keep going, sweetie.
And then Dante Bryan.
Black man, it's chicken on the mother table.
Black man trying to make it in society. Sitting on hip, cause I know they wanna rob.
Black man, it's chicken on the mother table. Black man, we need all that.
There we go. Yeah, now we can get it started. Got that Larry June. Larry June actually came out with a new song with E40. I was shocked that I seen the video. I'll download the song here after the live stream. But yeah, he just came out with a new video with E40 featuring E40. I was like, man, that gave me nostalgia. You know what I'm saying? E40 and Be Legit and The Click. Those used to be my groups, man. You know what I'm saying? Those albums definitely got me through as a young teen. Him and Too Short. Y'all don't know that about that. Let's see here. Here we go. Uh-oh. What did I do? Hold on, let me exit. All right, we in there. Cool. But before we get to the book review, guys, we're definitely gonna talk about a situation that I've seen, and this is not directed at the young ladies on this video. So if you guys haven't heard, there was a couple of plus size women that actually went viral because they went to Miami and they weren't allowed in the club. They said one of the bouncers, I guess, said that they were too thick. And then I guess he also said that they were too dark skinned, at least two of them. Right. And so it got me to thinking, not necessarily not understanding what goes on in Miami, because we've seen multiple videos of women complaining about the club standards. Right. And I want to discuss this because it made me think of one of my favorite comedians, rest in peace, to Patrice O'Neal. He actually had a theory, and this is where my theory of what I saw derived from. Okay. And I want to share with you guys this video. And then I also put a quick clip of Patrice O'Neal on the back end of it. And then I'm going to talk about this because I've learned a lot about a particular type of woman in these social media conversations. And I think this will further, my thought or your thought process, my thought process. So yeah, this will definitely be good. So without further ado, before we get into the book review, let's listen to this young lady that got denied entry to a Miami club. Anybody live in Miami here? Anybody? Put a 1 in the chat if you're from Miami. All right, let's get to it. Here we go.
Trying to figure out why I'm in the middle of Miami. Literally at what time?
It's 12:44.
It's 12:44. We go to a club called Mona. Do you know this club told me I'm too dark and too thick? Didn't let her in because she's too thick. Dark?
Bitches have audacity.
What's really going on, Miami? All too dark to get in the club? Yeah, no. Somebody need to let me know what's going on in Miami. Seriously.
No, I'm just saying how it's a little tougher. It's a little tougher to have a girlfriend that loves you than it is to have 5 hoes that it's just easy to tell them stuff. It's like, if a girl, I tell my girl, I don't want you to come over my house, immediately there's a why. There's a how come. She feels that. But back in hoe days, a hoe's life is maybe or possible or could be. I don't know. We'll see. Can I come over later maybe? I don't think so. And if I change my mind, I'll let you know. And it's always okay because they always self-edit themselves. You know what I mean?
They know their place.
They know their place. They just self-edit.
But you said they live in the world of maybe.
They live in a world of maybe.
And I thought that was kind of brilliant.
Yeah, they live in a maybe world because you can't tell your girl maybe.
Well, the expectations is maybe it'll happen.
Maybe or
but
maybe not.
But if it doesn't, they understand because they live in the world of maybe.
Can I get a pair of shoes? Maybe.
Shout out to Patrice O'Neal. So the reason why I brought that up is because he said the world of maybe when he talked about 304 saying that, if they ask a question, can I get some new shoes? He can simply say, maybe you can get some new shoes. And they have to accept that answer because they know their position. As opposed to a girlfriend, if you tell her, or if she asks, can I get some shoes? And you say no, she's going to ask why because she feels that she's entitled to ask why. However, a 304 is not entitled to that input because whatever they get, it is actually a bonus. You can say maybe and you can get away with it. And I started to wonder if that, I guess, translates over to how a lot of women see the world, because I've seen a lot of arguments that are fairly easy to understand for me from a logical sense, but then I see women say certain things and it got me thinking, wonder if women live in the land of should be. And hear me out when I say this. And like I said, I derived this from Patrice O'Neal's The World of Maybe analogy, but most women view the world through the lens of all men shouldn't be dangerous, instead of acknowledging that some men are dangerous and you should try your best to prevent yourselves from becoming a victim, which is what most men do and why my channel is popular among logical men and women, right? We automatically do that. So that's why so many women carry a disdain for these RP and RP adjacent spaces, because the information that we're telling men tends to leave no gray areas, okay? And men understand that. For example, in 2024, the Center for Public Health Safety Initiatives reported that the homicide rate in St. Louis, Missouri, was 54.4 deletions per 100,000 people, which actually ranks the highest among all major cities. A smart man reads that and says, I need to be mindful and not go to the dangerous areas of St. Louis. But illogical women, or women who live in the land of should be, will say, I should be able to do what I want in St. Louis, and every man shouldn't bother me. And I've never understood that type of mindset. And that's why I have a tough time getting into a lot of, panel shows, because I don't understand that thought process, because My background is centered around preventative measures, prevention, protecting people from disease, disability, and premature death. Okay? So if I tell men, don't date broke women because she's most likely to become a burden on your financial stability, emotional women will hear that and say, well, what if I'm working towards my degree to get a better job? He can support me. No. You can call him once you're a fully functioning adult and you can pay your own bills, okay? And I started thinking about that because that way of thinking makes most women who don't qualify upset, which leads me to these young women who couldn't get in the club because they were plus size. And it's clear to see, right? We saw what was going on. It is what it is. But damn near everyone watching the video, they knew exactly why they couldn't get in. But they didn't tell them. I was going into the comment section. I seen people they already knew, and that's them essentially living in the land of should be. I should be able to get in, or I shouldn't be discriminated against because of my skin tone. But judging by the comments, as I stated, this happens at that club all the time. But people are still two-stepping and dancing on the floor. But, back to the young women, I know they're mad that the club wouldn't let them in, which is fair. But what are you going to do about it? Is it important enough to you to sue the club for discrimination? Or are you going to find another club where they will accept you? The whole go where you're appreciated thing, I learned that actually from Black women in these spaces when they talk about divesting to white men. So I think that if most women stop living on the land of should be, their relationships would be so much better, especially for plus size women and also single mothers. My thoughts on this actually ties into the book that we're about to review. And there's a chapter in there that I call the Kevin Samuels effect. And it's how women viewed his opinions. And I don't think I've ever said this before, but I worked this out in my mind a long time ago. And granted, my heart goes out to those young ladies because nobody should be getting discriminated against for their skin tone or their size. But like I said, everybody that's from Miami or who has partied in Miami, they were in the comment section saying, yeah, those club standards are strict in Miami. That's just how it is. They kept saying, that's just how it is. So I'm like, if y'all know this, everybody, I've never partied in Miami, okay? But from the various videos that I've seen, I know if I was going to try and party in Miami and try and get into one of the hottest clubs, I'm going to end up spending a couple racks in there because I ain't going to be able to get in, just as a regular ass man. Yeah, I'm a regular ass dude. I got a little small YouTube channel. I'm doing great in the public health field, but they don't know me in Miami. I just look like a regular dude. So men, we got to pay. Unless you some sports player or athlete that people can recognize and be like, hey, that's such and such, and they'll let you in, give you a table. But my ass, $5,000. So it is what it is. So it's no reason for me to go to these clubs. But I just don't understand how women can move through life, in the land of should be. Everything should be like this. All men shouldn't be dangerous. But ladies, if you take advice from men, we know that there is a small subset of men that are dangerous, just like we know there's a small subset of women who can accuse you of rape. You know what I'm saying? Because, every woman may not do it, but every woman is capable of doing it. We know that, so we have to put in preventative measures to make sure it doesn't happen to us. And that goes for a myriad of things. So I just want women to understand, y'all got to stop using this excuse of people should do this. If I'm in the subway and I see a whole bunch of guys sitting down and I'm a woman and they won't get up, men should get up and give me a seat. Stop living in that world. Everybody can do whatever the hell they want to do. If there's a man that wants to give you a seat, then he will kindly give up. But don't say they should. No. See the world for as it is and not how it should be. Makes sense? And I promise you, everything will be so much better for you, and especially for the dating market. And what bothers a lot of people, especially women, is that when they get presented with the options of men that like them, they don't accept that. But based off of where you are, your physical appearance, and where you live, who you attract, this is your options. That is your level. And I'm going back to this because I've been trying to work this out about the whole, you're not on my level, you don't qualify, and it's just kind of insane to me to hear these types of things. But I'm like, yes, that's your level. That man is not lower than you just because you want, a 6'5" dude that makes millions of dollars. That doesn't mean you qualify for that. And when you get presented with your accurate options, you need to take them instead of saying that I should be able to get the basketball player that's worth $100 million. No. And shout out to that one Houston player that just signed that huge contract. So I forgot his name. But yeah, it was just funny to see that. Like, man, we all knew, but nobody really told him nothing. I was like, why y'all didn't say nothing? Tell these women in the comments. That's just how the club is, girl. They don't let nobody in. I don't know how people can walk through life with that mindset. I'm trying to fix it, but I don't know. Thank you, Olua. Good to see you here again. Blessings to you. And she gifted another Media Man membership. If you were lucky enough to receive that membership, please go ahead and give thanks to Olua. You probably already did. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you once again. I love to see the memberships. Please maintain the membership. Wasn't able to go live on Sunday because I was catching a flight. But we will hopefully be back this Sunday, depending on what I got scheduled. But other than that, yeah, man, please make sure you maintain the membership. And Pooh Man with the $10 bomb said, Media Man, thanks for the books. I've added to the collection, and I have a book suggestion, American Sirens, the incredible story of the Black men who became America's first paramedics. You know what's funny, man? So I don't know if you remember, Pooh Man, but I actually had to go to EMT Basic in San Antonio College back in 2009, and I finished up my intermediate in the military. Okay, so I actually had to study little excerpts of that when during Black History Month. So yeah, I didn't read the whole book. However, I do have the cliff notes of it somewhere. It's in like one of our workbooks from a long time ago. That was actually a great start. So I consider that, man. I greatly appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see here. All right. Did I get all of them? Cool, cool. Oh, let me get you a drop, Pooh Man. Where is it? Where is it?
I took it back to my old energy. And she telling me she feel the chemistry. That's bullshit. She just know I'm rich. But keep going, sweetie.
All right. Man, I got a bunch of funny stories since you mentioned paramedics and EMT. During my EMT basic training, you have to do a certain amount of hours on the road with an actual team. And I went, of course, you got a paramedic, and we had, I think it was an intermediate as well on the team. I was a trainee, and we went to downtown San Antonio for one of the calls, because typically if there's anybody in the health industry that lives in San Antonio, you can attest to this. Most of the calls that you get as an EMT in San Antonio is for like breathing issues, because there's a lot of, plus size folks there. A lot of people calling EMT for oxygen. So it got to a point where they told us that we can't use these calls simply for oxygen towards your hours of training. So we had to find something different. So it took longer to get my hours of training because we got so many calls when I was scheduled on shift to do my hours. So we got so many calls for oxygen. They was like, nah, we give you credit for like 2 calls, but then we, something else has to happen. And it was crazy because I was like, God dang. So we finally got an actual call, and we went to downtown San Antonio. It was this one particular club. And man, that was the first time that I had seen an actual bar fight and the ramifications of it. Okay. So the story that the cops told us after the fact, once they came to the hospital to finish up the brief, I guess it was a dude and his girl. They were just simply dancing in the club, and I guess some dude, tried to holler at his girl and like grabbed her ass or something like that. And her boyfriend, of course, doing what he's supposed to do, he come over there, say, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And so he addressed the guy that was in front of him that touched his girl. And as soon as he did that, he didn't know that the dude that did it had that liquid courage, and he had a bunch of friends with him. And they actually jumped that dude and stomped him out. I had never seen somebody look like that. And this is, keep in mind, this is 2009. I done already been to war 3 times. I ain't never seen nobody stomped out like that, man. So we had to load that dude up, transport him to, I think, the university hospital, and he got patched up. Yeah, so I counted that as some of my hours, and blessed to him wherever he is. But it was just a sad situation. And then we had another situation, which was the craziest that I've ever seen in the civilian world. We got a call that a man was stabbed in the heart. And when we got there, it was a guy in this court. You know how the housing complexes or areas have like a court where it's like a bunch of houses in this one little cul-de-sac. It was a dude right there in the middle of the court, laid out, everybody looking at him, and he had a knife sticking out of his chest. And we pull up, the paramedic and, intermediate, and I'm doing what I can to give them the tools that they need to get this guy transported. And so when we got there, everybody started coming around. They started looking, seeing what was going on, like doing life-saving procedures or whatever. And then slowly, there was this small Hispanic woman. She walks up, she looks around, and she just asked the paramedic, like, she was like, "Hey, is he going to be okay?" And I'm sitting there looking at her because typically the scene is kind of, I guess it's typically, walled off, but it wasn't a police officer. So everybody kept crowding the police, and he was trying to get them back. And she like kind of slid in and was like, "Is he going to be okay?" And the paramedic was like, "Yeah, we're getting him transported, getting him ready to go." Yeah. So, just kind of making small talk. And she was like, "Okay." And she walked around the paramedic, walked around his back, saw an opening, and she lunged for the dude and took out his knife and tried to stab him again. I was laughing, but I was like, "Oh, we grabbing this lady." So she was trying to delete this guy. She did it. That was her boyfriend. She was trying to delete this dude because I guess he cheated on her, and she pulled that knife out, which is something that you're not supposed to do. And she tried to, stab him again, and the cops had to arrest her. Came out what the story was. Dude ended up living. Out of all that, like literally laid out in the middle of the court, knife pulled out, and the woman tried to delete him right there. I will never forget that story in my life. So, so you just brought that up. So I'm laughing, but it ain't funny. But yeah, it was a crazy situation, bro. So yeah, it's so many stories. If you ever get a chance, speak to a paramedic in the civilian world. They'll tell you that sometimes we think that we've seen everything, but we haven't seen everything. You know what I'm saying? But they've seen a lot, and they have stories for days, man. You have to, and then for an EMT basic training, you have to go to the hospital and do clinicals. You have to do patient intake. We had to talk to the older people who were like in the nursing area of the hospital or something like that. And this lady, she actually, duped on herself while we was there. And I was training with a firefighter who was getting his EMT basic. Funniest dude in the world, man. And he was taking his intake. Man, I'm gonna have to look at the class roster and find this guy. He was taking his patient intake, talking to the lady, so you're experiencing chest pains or whatever. And he was just writing it down. And then the lady, she kind of stops, like pauses, and she does like this. Whew. And he was like, "What?" So then as he's still writing, we were sitting there like, oh. She sat there and shit on herself. And the firefighter looked that woman dead in the face, stopped writing. He's like, "Ma'am, did you shit on yourself?" And she act like she didn't speak English. She wasn't even in there for that. She just did it because of the nurses. So we had to tell the nurse. And the nurse was like, "Oh my God, she ain't even in there for this." It was the worst, man. Did you just shit yourself? Right there. People be taking advantage of the nurses, and I hate it, bro. I hate it. Every time we go do an inspection at a hospital, we get to speak to the nurses, and they're nicest people, man. But they have so many complaints with these damn patients falling on the floor for no goddamn reason during shift change. So then we got to try and, suggest that they put measures in to keep them in the bed. And we like, man, y'all got everything that you need, but somehow they fall out of the bed and they just, sitting on themselves. If nurses could really speak like they wanted to speak, it would be a lot of people cursed out. So that's why I know nurses get a lot of pushback in these dating spaces. However, the great nurses, they have, very important jobs, man. And I have so much respect for nurses. It's just a shame the shit that they go through. So, goodness gracious. All right. Red Room Entertainment, $2 just said a little something for our collection plate, my guy. Absolutely. Oh, speaking of the collection plate, y'all don't forget the High Yield Savings Account Challenge is starting today. It's from June 30th through July 3rd. So if you're going to enter, I need to see your bank statements of you depositing the correct amount for whatever challenge that you're doing, but block out all of the pertinent info. I do not need to see your account numbers or, names and shit like that. Whatever you got, your amount that you have in your balance, don't need to see none of that. Okay? I know y'all balling. We good, but I'm not trying to, steal all your ducats and your goods or whatever. This ain't a Dr. Umar challenge. So shout out to him. But yeah, so make sure you enter June 30th today from July 3rd. After July 3rd, we cutting it off because we making sure that this is strict because we trying to teach y'all punctuality and saving and doing it each month. And I want everybody to catalog it. And yeah, who knows? There may be a bonus from your boy at the end of the year. Once we hit December 31st, if I want to see how many people finish the challenge, and I may throw something in the kitty for somebody depending on who stuck with it the most. And hopefully we get a bunch of people. But we did the fitness challenge and we're down to 3, but we still rocking and rolling. So yeah, so make sure you join. Sir Pension, what up though? $5 super just said Black women do not listen to us. Where'd this come from? Even when we quote your stats, how do you want us to get through it again? It's not me, brother. And I know y'all keep asking me that because I called a lot of black men pussy. Yes. And when I say that, I'm talking about my generation of men. We didn't speak up. So I don't know why that bothers y'all the most. Y'all know that they ain't gonna listen to the majority of us. And I told you the reason why is because our asses didn't speak up when we were supposed to. Now that we have social media, the only thing that we can do is share this information. If they don't accept it, so be it. But you guys know the truth. I've been saying this since I got up here. But what I don't like is when I see black men on panel shows or black men on reputable TV stations and they allow women to talk recklessly about black men directly to your face. Those men are pussy. Okay? And that's and like I said, it's a specific mindset that a lot of older black men in my age group actually have. That's why you see older black men somewhat pandering to black women because they still have that mindset. That simp chip is still embedded. That needs to go away because they don't treat black women like people. They deify them. And that's sad because the more you do that, it's going to affect them in the long run. I wouldn't be doing these things if I didn't care. I know that black women have a level, the majority of black women have a level of disdain for black men. But you guys know my platform is ran on the rule of 10. 3 people for, 3 people against, 4 people undecided. The people for, speak to them. The people against, get away. The people, 4 people undecided, I'm open to listening what you have to say. And if your mind can be changed to where you understand the truth, great. If not, then you could go over there with the ones who are against. Okay? So yeah, so sir, it's not to you, but I've seen a lot of black men saying that in the chat. You know what I'm saying? And, oh man, it's not us, bro. It's what I want you guys to do is affect your own, interdependent dynamics or interpersonal relationships. Okay? That's the only thing that you can do. If you set a standard with the people that you come across with, specifically black women, then that helps the black community. Even if you don't abide by being a part of the black community, the only things that you can affect is your interpersonal relationships. And I'm saying interpersonal relationships is because it's the main reason why I'm reviewing this book for you guys today. You have to start there. Just like that guy on the Pop the Balloon show. And I told everybody this a while, the last live stream that we had. When black women say don't speak on black women's hair, then that should be the reason why black men speak on black women's hair. They don't have that right to tell you what you can and cannot say about their appearance because we pick them the most. Black women belong to us in regards to the black community. Relationships, it is what it is. Ain't nothing we can do, okay? But we are in the same community. We share the same skin. So if we have some opinions about black women's hair, so be it. Say it, take the L. Everybody gonna have to get cussed out. Everybody gonna have to go through what that young man went through on the Pop the Balloon because that shit ain't gonna stop. Now, on the flip side, the guys from my generation, when a black woman said don't speak on black women's hair, you know what the guys in my generation did? They shut the fuck up. And that's why we here where we here right now. Okay? You guys have social media. You guys have platforms. You can speak. You can talk. You can upset the apple cart, so to speak. You can say whatever the hell you want. There's no repercussions. Who gonna kick you out of the black community? Who's the leader? Who holds the card to the black community saying you can't get in? Are you worried that much about not getting into the cookout? That's what it is. Fuck the cookout. We black men, man, we are the leaders of the community. We can say whatever the hell we want. Just because that girl went off, who cares? We're going to talk about it because it's stupid, but that don't mean we're going to shut up. Do you think black women going to shut up about how they feel about y'all? Think about it. Okay? And it's a lot of black men in these spaces. They just trying not to upset the apple cart. They want to keep things as is. That's why you see these narratives being spread about black men. It's still black women out there saying that there's more black men in jail than in college. That shit ain't never been true. So you see why they're trying to keep us there? That's why I have this space. Every time I put out a statistical video, it's always some woman in the comments saying some backhanded thing like, man, why are you trying to go at black women? Ain't nobody going at black women. I don't disrespect black women on my platform. I don't allow it if I see it. Okay? But it is what it is. That don't mean I'm going to shut up. That's why you got black women saying you need to take mics away from podcasts like mine. It ain't going to happen. So who gonna reprimand me in the black community? Who got that power to come get me? Okay. But yeah, that's all I'm saying, man. Let's see. Blank paper, $5 super chat said Sir Charles Barkley on San Antonio. You know they got some big old women down there. Yeah, and it's true. And like I said, it's a huge issue out there. So I wish it was somebody in here that was an EMT or is an EMT or a firefighter. They will tell you the same thing. So let's see here. Leon, what up though? $2 super chat said, well, welcome to Texas. That was normal in 2K 2018. That's funny. Let's see here. Did I get all of them? Oh, here we go. H-Jack Man, $5 super chat said, yep, y'all Gen X dudes ain't tough. No offense, media man, but Gen X, y'all soft as Charmin tissues. Gen Z and millennials, we trying our best to fight. Well, yeah, and like I said, man, a lot of blame goes on us. I wouldn't call us soft. I mean, undoubtedly could belong to you guys, brother. But like I said, in regards to the choices and trade-offs, as I stated, if the trade-off is Gen Z men have lowered our imprisonment likelihood, right? From 1 in 3 to 1 in 5. And I congratulated Gen Z dudes on that. But if the trade-off for that is for y'all doing TikTok dances and painting your nails and doing all kinds of quote-unquote sassy shit, I'll take it. I'm sorry, because I think us having a lower imprisonment likelihood is way more important than y'all Gen Z dudes painting your nails. Okay? So I will take that trade-off any day of the week. We talk about YNs and foolery like that. It's a small percentage compared to the crack epidemic. Okay? So I will take that trade-off. We effed up. I can admit that. I can acknowledge that. But I can also acknowledge that Gen Z dudes are definitely a little bit more lazy than we were. Okay? And I know it's because of technology, and I have the statistics to back this up. And I commended Gen Z dudes for pushing the remote work thing. They kindly stood up and was like, well, why I got to come into work when I can do this from home? So it's like, so yeah, so a lot of that has to do with Gen Z dudes, but it's a lot of guys that don't have that ambition because they see social media and they see somebody else doing great and they like, man, I want to do that, you know, and they don't have that get up and go in them. But like I said, I will take that trade-off for the simple fact that Gen Z dudes are, you know, somewhat responsible for lowering our imprisonment rate. Gen Z and millennials, I believe, whatever I said last time. So yeah, I'll definitely take that trade-off. Blue Baggins, $4.99. My aunties and grandma love argue. Okay, I ain't talked to them in 30 years. I'm not fighting a good fight with no woman. Yeah, and my last video, I kind of explained that because the dude Deontay Kyle, he was saying that dudes arguing with women or whatever. I was trying to explain it as best possible to say that it's a way to have respectful discourse and get your point across. I am not for men arguing with black women on social media. If they can't be civil in the conversations that they have, then they got to go. And I explained that and I clarified in the video. And like I said, it was some dudes in there. No, to argue, brother. If you listen to what I said, I'm sitting there saying that respectful dialogue is perfectly fine. I had my friend TK up here. We didn't agree on everything, but did anybody get cussed out? No. I see damn near gang of dudes getting cursed out by grown-ass women on social media. That shit bothers me. Why is that woman there? That's all I'm saying. Let's see here. Okay. So yeah, HVAC man, yeah. But like I said, bro, what's the dude name? Any hoop. I could care less if bro painting his nails. With the Philadelphia Sixers, what's his name? He got hurt, man, unfortunately. Shout out to him. But he has his own nail polish line. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Dude with the wild hair, play for the Sixers. I always forget McCain. Is that his name? McCain? I don't know. But yeah. So he's a baller. That's all I know. This dude cold. But he got a nail polish line and he paint his nails and he do TikTok dances. But he ain't in prison. So what you gonna do? What you want me to do? Hey man, stop painting your nails and take some penitentiary chances, brother. No, ma'am. No, sir. Yeah, so shouts out to y'all, man. We can all do better, man. But like I said, that hopefully that's not the, black men didn't take that woman saying don't speak on black women's hair as a reason to not say anything. That's crazy. Who is she? It used to be privileged that you get to hear what a black man wants. Yeah, y'all just got to be more vocal with that. That's all I'm saying. So yeah. Old boy cold though. I ain't gonna hold y'all. Yeah, Jared McCain. There, who is that? Not your boy. Tell him. Yeah, he cold. He cold as hell. So I've watched this game. Hey, the Sixers got something. Who did they pick up in the draft? I think they picked up a good prospect too. So yeah, he gonna be cold. He definitely gonna be cold. Let's see here. Man, Houston. It rains. I was like, man, I need to wash my cars. You know what I'm saying? And it's always raining. It's storming out here, man. Goodness. Okay, so let's get to the review, man. But before we get to the review, I want to explain some things about the book before we get to it. And thank you guys for the super chats and greatly appreciate it. Pooh Man said we got over 100 likes right here. Man, already 155. Yeah. All right. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you. So, The Courage to Be Disliked. It's a book by, I want to keep saying this, FUMITAKE KOGA and ICHIRO KISHIMI. In my opinion, the book is simply a conversation between a philosopher and a very cynical young man. And, over the past, 5 conversations that they have in the book, he finally realizes that everyone is in control of our lives' direction. You know what I'm saying? And I also, and he also, and this is where people disagree. He says that we have control of our own life's direction, but that has nothing to do with your past traumas and expectations that you've had of others, which either could be lived up to or not. Most likely not, because when we set expectations on people, we tend to set them too high. And I've said this multiple times based off this book. I trust people to be people. Okay? That doesn't mean I trust people to be good all the time. I just trust them to be people. People F up. Good men F up. Good women F up. So this book it's a little bit contradictory to what you're normally used to hearing. And that's why I wanted to share this, because I want your opinions on some of the points that are made. But some of the chapters will definitely make you think, especially about social media and how the Black community views everything. So to give you some further background, hold on, before we get to it, there's some things that you need to know about the book. Let me bring this up so I can bookmark it when I'm clipping this up, that I talked about this. All right. There we go. You guys see it. You see it. Alfred Adler. So Alfred Adler was a physician, psychotherapist, and he is actually the founder of Adlerian psychology. I know I'm saying that wrong. Adlerian psychology, sometimes called individual psychology. He's actually considered the first community psychologist because his work actually pioneered attention to community life prevention and population health, which are some things that I'm familiar with in the healthcare field. Adlerian psychology actually emphasizes the human need and ability to create positive social change and impact. And you can read more from that, more about his works from Adler University. You guys can see it. They have his own website. Go to Adler University and you can see all about Alfred Adler. And then the Adlerian psychology, it simply views people as social beings who strive for belonging, significance, and personal growth within their social context. It emphasizes the importance of relationships, social interests, and overcoming feelings of inferiority, which is very important in these spaces, especially social media. Adlerians believe that the early childhood experiences and birth orders shape a person's unconscious goals and lifestyle. This lifestyle serves as a reference for their behaviors, attitudes, and self-view. A reference. But Adler, he does not think that how you grew up in your past shapes how you are in the future. Okay? And in some ways, I absolutely agree, because we've seen so many success stories of people bringing themselves out of the gutter and becoming billionaires, i.e. Jay-Z. Okay? If you guys, catch that. So, but some examples of Adlerian psychology, it's a social embeddedness. It's just the behavior and social media and how it shapes social interactions, if that makes sense. And then the compensation for inferiority. That's one that I want to save, because there's a chapter that I specifically grabbed so I can speak to the men and also the women in these social media spaces. But it does help you develop some strengths. Subjectivity, which is something that we normally don't talk about in these spaces. Pretty sure you guys have heard people talk about objectivity. We're going to focus on subjectivity, which is actually important. It's just simply that individual interpretation of information is more influential than heredity or environment. That's what Adler believes. Holism, the mind, body, and emotions work together to serve the individual's goal. goal-directed, all behavior is seen as a movement towards a goal. And then self-determining, people are all active participants in their lives and can change their belief systems. Okay? So yeah, I want you to remember a couple of people here. So Sigmund Freud, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard this. He's best known as the creator of a therapeutic technique known as psychoanalysis. Where was he born? Austrian. He's Austrian. Austrian-born psychiatrist, greatly contributed to the understanding of human psychology in such areas such as the unconscious mind, sexuality, and dream interpretation. So when you guys see those books, it was kind of derived from Sigmund Freud. He was also among the first to recognize the significance of emotional events that occur in our childhood. So with that being said, you can understand why Sigmund Freud and Alfred Adler, they butt heads with their philosophies. And a lot of people like studying them both to find somewhat of a happy medium. It's very tough because their beliefs oppose one another. Because Sigmund Freud, he is more under the impression that your childhood directly affects who you are in the future. Alfred Adler, he thinks that it doesn't. Okay? It's a subconscious thing or whatever, unconscious mind thing. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I know people who are philosophers or you study philosophy, you probably know way more than I do. This is one of my first philosophy books outside of Plato. I've read a couple of things. I like the allegory of the cave, so on and so forth. So yeah, I had to study that in school. But in simpler terms, Sigmund Freud's theory suggests that human behavior is influenced by unconscious memories, thoughts, and urges. This theory also proposes that the psyche comprises three aspects, and we're going to go over them: the ID, ego, and super ego. The ID is entirely unconscious, ID, while the ego operates in the conscious mind. And then the superego operates in both unconscious and consciously. Okay? So you can read more about that on Very Well Mind, actually a good website to get a lot of medical information from. Now, I want you guys to remember etiology. I'm maybe saying that wrong, but I've been saying that wrong since I was in school, but it's all good. It actually refers to the cause, set of causes, or manner of causation of a disease or condition. It's the study of how diseases originate and develop, including the factors that contribute to the occurrence, to their occurrence. In essence, it's the why behind the what of a disease. Make sense? So yeah, I don't want to get too philosophized on y'all, but in my practice as a public health professional, understanding etiology of a disease is very crucial for developing effective preventative measures and control strategies, which is something that we use on a day-to-day basis in the public health field. We have to identify causal factors of a disease, such as determining if it's a genetic predisposition, something or someone caused the disease, and many other factors in order to pinpoint the actual disease. It involves medical investigation and possible social influences that contribute to the occurrence of the actual diseases. When you read this book and you download it or you purchase it, you will hear etiology a lot. It's going to come up multiple times and you're going to get very familiar with it, okay? So yeah, so just wanted to give you that real quick. Hold on, let me see here. I got that. Okay, cool. We good. So I want to go over that first before we get into this first video, and you guys are definitely going to enjoy it. Hold on 1 second. All right. Leon, $2 said Carl Jung, the GOAT, red book. Animus book. Yeah, Carl Jung is actually a contributing he's a contributing member to the teachings of, I want to say, was it Adler? He's referencing the book as well, if I remember correctly. Okay. So yeah. Fact check me on that. I'm pretty sure I remember his name brought up. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, so this first one, Where we at? Hold on, let me bring this up. Now we can get to the good stuff. Oh, super chat. Let's see here. Mr. J Boogie, $2 super chat. Pronunciation of ID rhymes with Sid. Okay. Yeah, it's in the book. When you download the book, they say ID. So if you're saying id, cool. Thank you. All right. Hold on, let me get my notes. Here we go. This one is going to be good. And y'all going to see why as soon as I bring it up. Wait, where is it? Where is it? No. Okay, here we go. Let's listen to this introduction from a great channel that I found, and they did like a little quick synopsis of it, and I'll stop it in a couple seconds just to explain a couple of things. But here we go. This is a review of The Courage to Be Disliked, and I'm pretty sure you guys will definitely enjoy it. Here we go. Fair use, fair use.
Disliked, written by FUMITAKE KOGA and ICHIRO KISHIMI, is a dialogue between a youth and a philosopher about Adler's psychology and popular philosophy. The philosophy we hear in most places is based often on Freud's ideas, which are quite popular even today. But Adler's ideas are not so popular, as they often clash with conventional views.
You see that? So yeah, so this is going to be good. They clash with conventional views, as I stated. Here we go.
Lesson number 1. It takes courage to see the world without any filter.
What does that sound like, guys? And I told you I was going to stop it here in a second. Lesson number 1. It takes courage to see the world without any filter. Sounds like the RP spaces, seeing the world for how it is and not how it should be. If more people operated as such, then we will be a better place. Because once you see the world for how it is and not how it should be, then you can continuously try and work to change what you want changed. Instead of sitting there saying that people should do this, you should acknowledge how it is and then see if you can change it. If you can change it, amazing. Okay? If not, it is what it is. I love that saying. So, okay. Here we go. Fair use. Let's get to it.
The world we live in seems so complex, doesn't it? But what if I tell you that it's simple? You won't believe me, right? After all, how could the world be a simple place with so many complexities? It's highly dynamic, and every time we turn on the news channel, we see so much drama that it feels chaotic. As a result, life feels so complicated. But if you look at it carefully, it's not the world that is complicated. It's actually the opposite.
It's people. Oh, sorry. Let me stop. This is one of my favorite books.
The world is simple, but human beings are complicated. So whatever we see, or indulge in, becomes complicated. Every person sees the world with a different filter. That's where complexities arise. It's hard to share your perspective with every other person. Many contradictions exist between what we see and what the other people see. The surprising thing is that reality gets distorted when we look through filters. These filters are born due to our previous experiences and future expectations. We hardly look at reality without biases. But don't worry, there is still hope. We all can change for good, don't we? Unfortunately, it requires a great deal of courage. One has to let go of pre-existing beliefs to see the reality as it is. When you avoid change and stick to your rigid beliefs, you stop yourself from attaining happiness. You have two choices. Either you can keep complaining about how twisted the reality is, or you can simply let go of your expectations and accept the truth.
All right. So some of this stuff is going to sound familiar, and my apologies for not referencing this book a long time ago, but I've said this before. It's like, and I'm going to speak directly to the guys that say that they removed themselves from the dating market. I don't understand that concept, because I'm like, if you see the world for how it is, that doesn't mean that you should just accept it and continue not doing anything about it to improve your situation. Okay? So yeah, it's going to be some chapters in here. And if you're a guy that does comment that in various social media spaces, I don't care. I remove myself from the dating market. I don't mess with these women anymore. I always ask, like, what are you doing? Because this book is all about interpersonal relationships. So this actually may offend some of you guys that have this mindset of, I see how women are, I just don't want to deal with them. I'm perfectly fine as I am right now. And that may be your, something you want to do, but this is going to make you think about some things in regards to your relationships or lack thereof. Okay. So is there anybody in the chat? Put a 1 in the chat if you're one of the guys, and I typically see guys say this, that you said that I remove myself from the dating market. That doesn't mean that you're a passport bro. You just simply saying, I'm not dealing with women at all. Not paying for play. None of that. Not going to another race at all. Who's fed up with the dating market and you don't want anything to do with it, but you still comment on certain videos about why you're not in the dating market? Is there anybody? Carte blanche. Carte blanche. Okay. Carte blanche is one of them. Okay. Stay tuned because I want your thoughts on some things. Let's see here. William K. Jones, 499 super chat. What up, though? Good morning. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. What up, though? All right, let's get back to it. Let me see. So we got one. Sir Pension is one of them. Change for life. See? Told you these guys here. All right, cool. Let's continue.
The former introduces complications into your life, while the latter helps you eliminate them. Note the word courage here. We all know its meaning. But do we practice it in real life? Are we ready to let go of all those things that are stopping us from achieving true freedom? And
no, that's not what I'm talking about. So you're not one of them, sir. You said I've removed myself, but that doesn't mean that I won't. I don't think I can say that, but I understand. I won't sneak in with a woman if it crosses my path. I'm just not actively looking. Nah. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about guys that have completely removed the idea of dealing with women completely because you are so fed up. I'm talking about those guys. I'm not talking about the I sales, if y'all know what I'm saying. INCEL. Not talking about those guys, because those guys are involuntarily celibate. Okay, which means that something about their appearance or about them is undesirable to the opposite sex, but they do want that, but they're just involuntarily celibate because the women don't find them attractive. Okay, so I'm not talking about you. You like, yeah, if it comes across, whatever, I'm good. I'm talking about the guys who don't want any, dealings with women at all. Okay. So, yeah. So I understand what you're saying, but okay. All right, let's continue.
Happiness. The book shares many ideas.
And I see a lot of y'all. Let me explain this. A lot of y'all saying monk mode in the chat. Monk mode. Monk mode is typically for a specific time period. When we did our reviews of the different pills, we did talk about monk mode, I believe, on another show. Monk mode, from what I gather, is that it's going to happen, for, let's say you're going to school for 4 years and you're keeping your head down in the books, but as soon as you're done, you're ready to get out there. And we can use the anesthesiologist on the Pop the Balloon show. If you guys watched the last Arlette Amuli Pop the Balloon show, he specifically said that I was focused on my school, but now that I'm done with school, I'm back out there. So he essentially was in monk mode. But once he got done, he met his goal because he knew that women may hinder his progress. Now he's back on the dating market looking for a woman to marry. So that's how I view monk mode. Now, the guys that I'm talking about, again, are the guys that they aren't on any specific journey. They just like, hey, I seen what it is out there. I don't like how women are moving these days. I don't want no dealings with them. So I'm just gonna, live by myself and do what I need to do. I may have some, my homeboys here and there or whatever, pop my head out, so be it. But I'm talking specifically to those guys because this is actually a book that they would probably benefit from and make them do some self-reflection. Is this what you actually want? Or are you just simply unwilling to change certain things that may be maybe detrimental to your interpersonal relationships. This book discusses all of that. So that's why I said the guys who have removed themselves, you may want to read this book because it's going to force you to ask yourself some questions. Okay? Is it the women or is it me? Make sense? Okay. All right. So let's continue.
From Greek philosophy and Adlerian psychology that helps us tackle these issues. Keep watching this video to learn more. Lesson number 2. Change is simple when you break free from the cycle of cause and effect. Before we discuss happiness, let's try to understand why we become sad and worried in the first place. Almost all of us are controlled by our pasts. We all hold some kind of bad memories that haunt us even today. Maybe you had a bad relationship with your parents. Perhaps you were bullied at school. Maybe you were not good at your studies, and nobody believed in you. Maybe you grew up with no friends. It could be anything. The point is, there is always something in our memories that holds us back even today. Despite how much we discuss it, we can't find a way to eliminate them, right? Because if we could, we would have done that already. But Adlerian psychology argues that traumas don't exist.
You see that? So yeah, this is going to be, if you say that in any type of conversation today, people would try and rumble with you. Traumas don't exist.
Adler said that we create those emotions to avoid the real issues. The book shares the story of a spoilt brat who wouldn't go out of his home because his parents abused him during his early teenage years. You might think that it's because his parents were abusive that the kid turned out to be like that. But that's not true according to Adler's psychology. His current situation was not a result of his past experiences. That's the fundamental idea behind Adler's psychology. Most people create their own unhappiness, and no bad experience can influence their future.
See, now look, and I guess the best thing about reading these types of books is there's majority of it you can agree to or agree with, and some of it you don't. I don't agree with that. Okay, I believe. Well, let me not say I don't disagree wholeheartedly. I will say your upbringing definitely makes it tougher for you to succeed in the future. I will say that much. I'm not going as far as to say that it doesn't matter, which is something that Adler says. It doesn't matter. You should still be able to do what you need to do to become successful, because some people succumb to how they were brought up and they don't ever pull themselves out of that. So that's why when I talk to the guys that say that I remove myself from the dating market, I always want to know more. I want to know why you say that, why you think that. It just simply can't be women. And I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that. I can't diagnose or kind of try and, put anything on somebody, but I always want to know what happened specifically to make you think that way. Was it social media? Was it what you heard the women say on social media and how they move and they don't want to be traditional women? So you like, man, I don't even want to deal with it. I always want to know more. So that's why I'm asking these questions. I've asked these questions before on my platform, specifically to those guys, because what I didn't understand was the guys who are moving themselves from the dating market, they still will take time to talk shit about women in the comment section. But I'm like, well, if you already came to your own conclusion, why are you here? If it's entertainment or you just want to get your shit off, cool. But from what, again, going back to my old age, what am I? Gen X or whatever. Am I Gen X? Okay, I'm Gen X. Gen X, right? We had a title for guys like that. It was called hermits. Hermits. Yeah, we just call them hermits. Are the guys that used to just go in the woods and go all by themselves. You wouldn't hear anything from them. Those are the type of guys that I'm used to hearing say I remove myself. That's what that means. But when I hear guys say remove yourself to the dating market, but you're still here, I'm like, well, you must be looking for something. And that's why I would love for those types of men to read this book, okay? Because it forces, it will ask you some questions that you need to hear, okay? So yeah, so let's continue. Here we go.
In other words, one can always change his present. Your past can't control you. We can break the cycle of cause and effect using our will. The kid we talked about had a goal not to go outside, as he was not comfortable with others. And he was using his bad experiences as an excuse to avoid any uncomfortable situation. You can also say that the kid didn't have the guts to face the unknown. Every time he thought about going outside, he lied to himself and thought about how his parents abused him in the past. The key to fighting any kind of trauma is to see how we are hiding behind our bad memories and avoiding reality. Remember that change is simple.
Do y'all agree with that? Is change simple?
It is us who make it complicated. Lesson number 3. Anger is a tool that people use to take revenge.
So I actually clipped up a piece of this chapter. We're going to review it, but I'll let them go ahead and speak on it.
Anger. We all know it, don't we? As soon as we get angry, there is no controlling us. That sudden burst of energy is uncontrollable, right? Wrong. Adler argued that emotions don't have the power to control us. Instead, we can resist them. Then why do we speak as if?
So real quick, I keep stopping it because I'm remembering things from the book. There's a part that's going to explain this. They're going to give you an example how your emotions can be controlled, which is something that everybody could get better at. What is this buzz term that we use these days? Emotional intelligence. This is kind of what they're talking about here. How you control your emotions, anger, so on and so forth. The analogy that they use for the example that they use for anger is great, and you'll definitely understand it. And I've actually seen this happen in my household when I was a child. Okay, so let's continue.
All emotions are out there to get us. The thing is, we all have goals that we want to achieve. For instance, what if a waiter spills the tea on your shirt? What would you do in that case? Most people, who believe that they can't control their anger, would suddenly start shouting at that person, and then justify that their anger took them over. But this is not true. They wanted to let out their frustration and cool it down by shouting at the person who made the mistake. Instead, they could let go of their momentary anger and say, it could happen with anyone else. This doesn't mean that emotions have no power. They are powerful indeed. But they are not above us. We can resist our emotions and choose whether to act based on them or not. Anger can be helpful too. But unfortunately, most people sought to take revenge in the name of anger. Remember that you are a human being. You are not a powerless stone that anybody can toss around. You have the power to choose what meaning you assign to your emotions. Lesson number 4. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems.
So this is where, people disagree. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems. And this includes in your workplace and your personal relationships. This is what Adler thinks. Let's continue. You guys, let me know in the chat. You send a super chat. It's perfectly fine.
According to Adler's psychology, what if the world didn't have any problems? It'd be amazing, right? But it's impossible.
So real quick, I've listened to a couple of feminists talk about this. Well, radical feminists, I'll say that much. They say that if women were in power, then we wouldn't have any problems in the world. Do y'all believe that? Like, let's say if every position that men hold in regards to like the Senate, the House and all this stuff, presidency, do y'all believe that if women were in power, there will be no problems in the world? Seriously. And correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard this before. They think that I've heard men should just take a step back and allow women to lead. And they will be so much better to where there will be no problems in the world. Okay. So, all right. So, yeah. So, and I'm asking, thank you, Olawa. I'm glad I clicked back to the live. False. Yeah. So I like when women comment on this, and thank you guys. I see you guys in there. Cool. Thank you. So yeah, and like I said, if I'm off, and again, bro, I don't have a problem with feminists. It's just the radical feminists that have a disdain for men. Like I said, some of my friends are feminists. TK is a feminist, but we cool. We've been cool for years. Now it's no issues to me. If the thing of being a feminist is equality, and I'm going to ask equality, what don't you have equality for? And I will listen to you to hear if it's true or not, but I'm not going to argue your thoughts and opinions is not affecting me. So the radicals they kind of wild. So let's continue.
The reason is, for such a condition to be true, there should be only one human being in the universe. Yes, if you were all alone, there would be no problems. You wouldn't need to compete with anyone. You would be the ruler of the universe. There would be no spouse to fight with, or no kids to take care of. There would be no rules to follow. But as soon as there is more than one individual, problems arise. And realistically, that is not going to happen anyway. The key idea here is that all problems are, one way or the other, interpersonal relationship problems. This includes two things: your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with others. If either one of these is not correct, you are bound to get complications in your life. If you see every other person as your competition, you will always keep struggling, and will never be able to build great interpersonal relationships. The very first step here is to figure out your identity.
So, and I'm trying to wait until we get to the chapters, but it's very tough because I have so much to say about this as it pertains to the Black community. We see this amongst Black men and Black women all the time. And I'm going to give Black men some credit here. It's not us in this aspect of competition with our female counterparts. For some odd reason, I don't understand why Black women want to compete with us. And then when we show or share the truth, why are you comparing yourselves or competing with women? I've never understood that mindset. It's like throwing a rock and hiding your hands. Black men don't want to compete with Black women at all, but we do have the right to defend ourselves against lies. And don't take the easy way out by saying we're trying to compete with women. No, okay, especially on my channel. I've already shared multiple studies and economic standing for Black men against all men. But if you guys lie on Black men, then that's when I get involved, i.e. the revolt interview, okay? So yeah, if they just had a conversation about their opinions, perfectly fine. Y'all don't see me react to people that have polarizing opinions and they go viral. You guys send me certain clips and I'll review them and I'll listen for a lie about Black men. But if it's their opinion, such as somebody saying Black men are the worst to date, how can I quantify that? I can't. That's her opinion. Let her go. The market will decide. Go date outside the race. So yeah, so I can't really argue that. However, if somebody blatantly says something like, what did that lady say? She said a whole bunch. I mean, I can't even remember. More Black men have children. It's going to be tougher to find a Black man with no kids. And I'm like, okay, well, let me show you. That's how I get involved. When somebody misinterprets stats or just blatantly lie. Okay. So yeah, so let's continue.
How do you see yourself? If you see yourself above others, you will have a superiority complex. On the other hand, you will have an inferiority complex if you see everyone else above yourself. Both are not good if you want to have happiness in your life. Lesson number 5. Inferiority complex is an excuse for not taking responsibility. First of all, both inferiority and superiority complexes are normal. If you have any one of them, don't feel guilty about it. Everybody has those feelings. It's a part of being a human. The problem is, most people don't know how to manage them properly. If you feel inferior to someone, it only means that a part of you wants you to grow. It boils down to your viewpoint. If you keep feeling inferior and use it as an excuse, you won't be able to grow. But if you use it as a stimulant for growth, you will outclass your present self.
And that's should I comment on it or wait till the chapter? They hitting all the points. God dang it. All right, let's continue. I'm gonna wait.
The philosopher in the book explains that it's healthy as long as you compare yourself with your ideal self. But as soon as you start comparing yourself with every second person, you would fall into one of those complexes, which is not healthy at all. It takes away your happiness. Remember that, since you are a human being, your fundamental responsibility is to reach your highest potential. to become your ideal self. To become the person you always wanted to be when you were a kid. But when you fall into the comparison trap, you waste your energy satisfying other people's expectations and mold yourself according to other people's worldviews.
So I will say something about this because they're using the animated thing of the gym. I've seen this in the gym multiple times, and I've also had people say this. They'll come up to me and like, I mean, I don't know if they're joking or not. Like, man, I want a physique like yours. Or they'll, have you guys ever seen the men and women in the gym that have a magazine and they're walking around the gym with the magazine? And, sometimes they'll ask questions and they'll say, yeah, I'm trying to look like this person. But I know, being, bodybuilder for like 20 years now, you don't know how you're going to turn out based off of somebody else's physique. You can train like that person, you can eat like that person, but your results may be different due to your genetic disposition. And that's what we see in bodybuilding, competitions all of the time. There could be men that train harder than the next man, but just because that man's genetic disposition is better, he's going to win the show. Okay, it's a very subjective show. However, if you know anything about bodybuilding, they always talk about a person's structure, how they're built. They have short clavicles and things like that, feel heat or whatever. And you have to improve on certain things to hide those weaknesses of your physique. So so guys will say, hey, I want to look like you or whatever. And if they can't look like that, then either some guys will quit or they will continue. This is what they're talking about. And this is why I liken this to the relationship conversation in these spaces. If you can't get the outcomes that you want and you say, I'm good, I'm just going to remove myself. And this goes for both men and women, because I've said this before and magically Kendra G starts saying this. I've been saying, if a woman says that she wants a man that makes $500,000 a year, okay, I hear that and I'm like, okay, cool. If you don't find a man that makes $500,000 a year, are you willing to live the rest of your life without anyone? If you don't find that man, that means you forsake all others. If they don't make $500,000, I don't want to date them. If she says yes, that's it. You know what I'm saying? And then I've heard Kendra G ask that question now. She'll say, okay, so let's say you don't meet a man that makes that amount of money. Are you just, okay with living alone and not marrying again? Some women will actually say yes. And those are the women you just let go. But if a woman is like, well, no, that's just, something that I aspire, but I'll date a man who makes 100,000, 100,000. It's like, oh, okay. Now I see what you're saying. But once they say, I'm good, hey, I'm done. That's it. So I've always thought like that. So let's get to it. Fair use.
Ever thought about why most people do the latter? That's because it requires a lot of courage to become your ideal self. You have to overcome a lot of hurdles along the way. On the flip side, it's easy to feel superior by calling a person inferior and competing for irrelevant milestones unrelated to your ideal self. Lesson number 6. See people as your comrades, not your enemies. This comparison mindset needs to change, because it makes you feel as if every other person is your enemy.
Lord.
You can't focus on self-growth.
Man, if we had this mindset in the Black community, sweet Christmas. Black women, y'all paying attention? Ain't nobody trying to be y'all enemy, man. Trying to work with y'all. Sweet goodness. All right.
When you have your mind filled with jealousy, the trick here is to shift your mindset from win-lose to win-win. This is the same idea that Stephen Covey discussed in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I'm pretty sure a gang of people have read this book before. So
what's the point of winning if only you win and everybody else around you loses? With who will you share your victory then? Sadly, most people live as if they are running a race. But in reality, we all have to race with ourselves, without competing with others. This would help you get free of worries, and every milestone you will achieve would give you immense happiness. The reality is that, even if you don't compete with anyone, other people will find ways to compete with you. You will find many people who would hold a grudge against you for random reasons. You might even want to take revenge. But beware, don't fall into that trap.
Hey, so you see back there that Venus flytrap? I'm gonna give y'all I wish I knew his page name. Hold on, I'm gonna help y'all out. Don't ask me how I came across this TikTok page, but I told y'all I follow the weirdest stuff. Venus flytrap. What's his page? There he is. It's called the TikTok page is called Carnivorous Plants Journey. So this right here. Okay, this is his channel, Carnivorous Plants Journey. It is one of the most interesting spaces that I've seen in a while. He lives in California, and for some odd reason, he lives in a place where there's a gang of black widows. He feeds black widows to his Venus flytraps. And you can see how these things actually work when they trigger the hairs in the inside on the red of the, I know I'm talking about something crazy, but yeah, it is an amazing page. It comes up on my feed and I watch all of the videos. I see it's a great camera, mind you. And he has the spiders, they go in there and the Venus flytrap closes and literally like drains the spider over a period of time for all their nutrients. I did not know those things work like this. Like they close fairly fast. I know we've seen Little Shop of Horrors and we played Mario Kart, our Mario Brothers, where you got the Venus flytraps, but this is the real thing. It's the craziest thing. All right. So it's the funniest thing. All right. Follow the page. Carnivorous Plants Journey. There we go. Fair use.
Revenge is only going to make things worse. You can make wise choices. You can always resist your emotions and think properly. Lesson number 7. Have the courage to be disliked. If you want absolute freedom from other people's judgments.
Yes.
Absolute freedom comes when you can live your life based on your terms, free from other people's expectations. But often, when we discuss interpersonal relationships, there is a conflict between the expectations. You might find your close friends or relatives disliking you if you don't do what they expect of you. Even if you try to satisfy everybody else, you will have to sacrifice your own choices. And unfortunately, even then, you might have a few left who won't be satisfied. So what should one do in such a complicated situation?
It's going to be good. Leon King, 2000 said, the new version you was first created in your mind. Add a little more context to that, Leon. The new version you was first created in your mind. Yeah, let me know. Thank you.
The solution here is draw or define a boundary between you and the other person. If the other person has unrealistic expectations from you, you don't have to change yourself. That's not your task. You can't control what other people think anyway. Does this mean you don't have to care what other people think and become selfish? Not at all. It's the other way round. If someone is trying to manipulate you through his expectations or emotional drama, that is selfish. Keep in mind that the other person can only manipulate you if you don't have control over your emotions.
Sound like hoe tactics. Okay. See how these books? Lord Jefferson with the $6.99 Canadian buckaroos. He says, salute. Hey, I appreciate that, good brother. Good to see you here, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
In that case, you need the courage to be disliked and not be manipulated by your emotions. On the surface, this might look like a scary recipe to push people away from you. But it's not. Good relationships don't bind people through emotional dramas or conflicts. Instead, they liberate you.
That's actually different than social media, because, and I've noticed this with women, the trauma bonding thing. If you are a woman who's in content creation spaces, you probably have noticed this. Like some of the most viral videos that women typically do on TikTok, mind you, is that when they're sharing a story of trauma, like Risa Tisa, she'll share something like that, and women can dig up certain things to bond with that. So they were saying, this is, I mean, it's common in today's social media society, trauma bonding. And I think most people who are backhanded, they're smart, but they're backhanded. They know that women love that type of content. It's a whole Color Purple thing where I question how a 20-year-old can say that the first version of The Color Purple is their favorite movie. Like, you ain't been through nothing yet. But yeah, I've seen that a lot. A lot of women do very well in the trauma bonding spaces, especially when it pertains to Black men. They can tell a story about how a Black man did her wrong, and then they'll have thousands of Black women in there saying, yeah, me too, girl. This is what happened. And that develops a disdain for all Black men. As long as they stay away from me, I'm good. So I ain't gonna get no airtime on my show, but yeah, it is what it is. So let's see here. Change for Life, $10 bomb said, took me decades to realize that other people's opinions do not matter. Plus others do not hold themselves by their own standards. Yeah, in certain instances, that's absolutely true, and I definitely agree with you. But in regards to other opinions don't matter, some do. Some do. If it's somebody that you trust, somebody that you love, somebody that you admire, good opinions, bad opinions, you are more inclined to accept those from people that you respect. And if we talk about social media, Change for Life, that rarely happens in panel shows when you have a polarizing topic. You get a woman who doesn't have a level of respect for men. She tends to dominate the conversations because there's no respect there. So her opinions are definitely going to be biased, but a person has to respect you. But yeah, if it's somebody you love and they have an opinion on you and how they feel that you can change or what you could be doing better, you have, like if I was to tell you that, man, you have an amazing singing voice, you should look into getting a singing contract or something like that. It's not a bad thing. It's just saying that, hey, I think you would do well in this, and you can take my opinion on that or not, or if it's something negative, your friends, you tend to listen to them a little bit more than you would some person off the street. That's why I tell men, stop trying to hold strange women accountable because they don't respect you. That's what I'm talking about, because their opinion, your opinion doesn't matter to them. So yeah, so I definitely agree with you on certain instances, but if it's somebody that you trust and or love, yeah, I'm pretty sure you would accept that. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, brother, but that's just my opinion. All right. Thank you.
By the way, if you love learning by reading books, I highly recommend you visit whisperscout.com and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
So this is the channel, the YouTube channel that you can find this video. I got it there at the bottom. You can see it.
To stay updated and get access to 100+ detailed book summaries on business, finance, and personal growth. Lesson number 8. To have a true sense of your worth, contribute to the community. Do you know why some people have inflated egos? That's because they have an inferiority complex. The root cause of the inferiority complex is not knowing one's self-worth. When you don't know your true worth, you constantly fear that other people might outshine you or grab more opportunities than you. Or sometimes, people have inflated egos because they think they are more deserving than others. Both are not true. Nobody is superior. And nobody is inferior. In fact, such a complex is dangerous. Adler says that we all are a part of the larger community. The exciting part is that he doesn't just talk about communities formed around common interests or regions. He goes broader than that. Adler believes that there is one more extensive community of human beings, where no person is the center. This philosophy goes against selfish people who think they are superior. Does this mean that nobody has any worth? It's the opposite, actually. Adler means that every human being has equal worth. Every person can contribute to this larger global community in some way. You can't give something from nothing, right? So when you give or contribute anything to the community, you feel a sense of worth. That worth doesn't inflate your ego.
So, but I want to stop there because I know we got a lot of military veterans in here, you guys can understand that everybody contributes. They in the military, they do a great job of pushing that message to everyone. Because take, the Air Force for an example. Our, greatest assets are our aircraft. Okay. We can't do nothing. We can't call ourselves an aircraft when we can't get these planes off the ground. And also right behind that, the pilots. Okay. Pilots are heavily coveted in the Air Force. I'm pretty sure y'all know that. However, pilot wouldn't be able to do his job if we didn't have the aircraft maintainers doing their job. If we didn't have the age folks bringing the fuel out. If we didn't have, the medics that clear those pilots to actually get in that cockpit and do what they need to do. So everybody's job plays a part into the overall mission. Does that make sense? So yeah, so even though, yes, some jobs are far more coveted than others, everybody plays a part, because if this didn't happen, then this couldn't happen. And like I said, the military does an amazing job of explaining the mission from the bottom to the top. Okay. So everybody, they make it feel like everybody matters. And in essence, they do. Okay. So yeah, so let's continue.
Instead, it highlights your true nature. It gives you freedom and happiness. Lesson number 9. You can be of worth by simply being with others. When we think about worth, the first thing that comes to our minds is money. But a person's real worth is not always calculated by how much money he has. What if a person is financially poor and can't help anybody? Will he still have worth? Yes, definitely. As we discussed, a person's worth can be due to many reasons. For instance, older adults who can't provide anything also have worth, as they can provide emotional support or knowledge to the young ones. Their presence itself has a worth.
Not these days. Hey, the way they cussed out Felicia Rashad. I don't know if that applied to social media today. Hey, them women cussed out, man, Claire Huxtable. I thought I'd never see the day. She is one of the most coveted people in the Black community, and they called her a pick-me because of the way that these women half naked out here. So I don't know if that applied. These goddamn new generations, man.
They can provide to the other person. Judging a person only on the basis of money is a limited way of seeing life. Remember that life is more significant than money.
Uh-oh, the ladies, the whole tactic ladies don't like that. Life is more significant than money. They don't want to hear that, brothers. And we hear that all the time in the, the dating spaces. We know that the man with the most money, he gonna pretty much get what he wants, because that's what a lot of women are after these days. It is what it is. But yeah, don't curse out Felicia Rashad. we can't do that. Let's see here. Let's see. All right, cool. So now I get to get into my favorite parts of the book, and you guys gonna definitely enjoy this first one because it pertains to the Black community. Admitting fault is not defeat. We have a tough time. And shout out to Kevin Samuels, man. That need to be right with the sign language thing. Spot on. We have a problem. Okay. Black people, we have a problem. All right, so let's get to it. Fair use. Here we go.
Is not defeat. All right. Then what should you do when you're subjected?
Okay, so this is the cynical young man talking to the philosopher. And when I say cynical, he has a very pessimistic mind, but it's actually good for the conversation. And and real quick, The Courage to Be Disliked, they have a lot of chapters, but it's an easy read. If there's anybody in the chat that has read this book, you'll know what I'm talking about. I like books that have short chapters because it makes it feel like you're doing something. You're making progress. Okay. What's a book that has long chapters? I have to figure it out. But yeah, man, it's a very easy read because the chapters are very succinct. They all play in, like they'll go from one to the other, and you will get elements of the last chapter that you read, which is absolutely amazing. I think they have like damn near 40 chapters or something like that. But yeah, so, all right, let's continue. Fair use.
The personal attacks right to your face. Do you just grin and bear it?
No, the idea that you are bearing it is proof that you are still stuck in the power struggle. When you are challenged to a fight and you sense that it is a power struggle, step down from the conflict as soon as possible. Do not answer his action with a reaction.
So, and again, some of this stuff I disagree with. Sometimes violence is unavoidable. It just is what it is. And that goes back to my first point where I was telling women, stop living in the land of should be. Men understand that that doesn't exist. Sometimes violence is unavoidable. You can try and step back, but somebody continues to press. When a man continues to press, he ain't listening to your words, brother. Something got to happen. And it just is what it is. We can't live in the world of should be or the land of should be. Sometimes this happens. And like I said, I love this book because it gives you a chance to disagree and work out certain things. And I would love to know your opinions on that as well. Can you avoid every conflict? My opinion, no. Okay, but you can try and prevent certain things from happening based off of how you move and risk measurements and things like that. So yes, let's continue. Very useful.
That is the only thing we can do.
But is it really that easy to not respond to provocation? In the first place, how would you say I should control my anger?
When you control your anger, you're bearing it, right? Instead, let's learn a way to settle things without using the emotion of anger, because after all, anger is a tool, a means for achieving a goal.
That's a tough one.
The first thing that I want you to understand here is the fact that anger is a form of communication, and that communication is nevertheless possible without using anger. We can convey our thoughts and intentions and be accepted without any need for anger. If you learn to understand this experientially, the anger emotion will stop appearing all on its own.
But what if they come at you with mistaken accusations or make insulting comments? I shouldn't get angry even then?
You don't seem to understand yet. It's not you that mustn't get angry, but that there is no need to rely on the tool of anger.
So, and like I said, man, you see this on the panel shows all of the time, but there's a money element involved. So I absolutely get it. In the real world, I don't think things would go down like they do on panel shows if people were face to face. Okay, because if you still have to control your anger based off of the person that's actually causing you to be angry, then that means you're still there. The only thing you're doing is masking it, so to speak. You're masking your anger instead of removing yourself from the situation. On social media, panel shows, they don't do that. I'm pretty sure y'all have seen multiple shows where it's just a woman up there that want to talk shit about men, but they allow her to speak because it's good for the views. Y'all understand? So yeah, so this is what they're talking about. So let's continue.
Irascible people do not have short tempers. It is only that they do not know that there are effective communication tools other than anger. That is why people end up saying things like, I just snapped, or he flew into a rage. We end up relying on anger to communicate.
Effective communication tools other than anger.
We have language. We can communicate through language. Believe in the power of language and the language of logic.
Certainly, if I did not believe in that, we wouldn't be having this dialogue.
One more thing about power struggles. In every instance, no matter how much you might think you are right, try not to criticize the other party on that basis. This is an interpersonal relationship trap that many people fall into.
Why is that?
Watch. Now, I don't know if Kevin Samuels actually read this book, but this next part describes the need to be right.
The moment one is convinced that I am right in an interpersonal relationship, one has already stepped into a power struggle.
Just because you think you're right? No way, that's just blowing things all out of proportion.
I am right. That is to say, the other party is wrong. At that point, the focus of the discussion shifts from the rightness of the assertions to the state of the interpersonal relationship. In other words, the conviction that I am right leads to the assumption that this person is wrong. And finally, it becomes a contest, and you are thinking, I have to win. It's a power struggle through and through.
Now, you see how that pertains to social media conversations? And I just say, and if you're in the chat, shout out to you. Somebody just said, you should invite the Revolt panel people onto my show for a debate. And I responded to him by saying, what we going to debate? Statistics? Because I already know I'm right. I know they don't have refuting evidence because I have it all. I put it all in the videos that I share with you guys. I know I'm right. Like you said, it's not a think I'm right. I know I'm right. So if I bring them on to debate statistics, what will we be actually debating? Their opinions on if they believe it or not? I'm not going to involve myself in that. Now, we could talk about the statistics, and I would like to know who taught you that what you saying was true. That's my biggest question, guys. If you guys didn't know, but it rarely goes like that. If I rebut somebody's lie about black men, the first thing that they go to is insults. And I'm like, this is not productive. Hey, and I don't get bad, but it's not productive because I want to know where they got that from so we can get to the root cause of this. When did you learn that, black men are doing all this to the black community? Point the person out. Who taught you this? Because I want to know. All right. So all right. It's just I'm an inquisitive type of guy. So when I hear people put out these lies about black men, yes, I'm going to address it, but I want to know where and who told you that, so we can, so I can research that person to see what else they've been saying. Okay, because some of this stuff it can't be just out of the blue. You got it from somewhere, because you damn sure didn't do the research. So yeah, that's why I say it's we're gonna debate what the statistics actually accurately say. That's crazy to me. But all right, let's continue.
In the first place, the rightness of one's assertions has nothing to do with winning or losing. If you think you are right, regardless of what other people's opinions might be, the matter should be closed then and there. However, many people will rush into a power struggle and try to make others submit to them. And that is why they think of admitting a mistake as admitting defeat.
See?
Yes, there definitely is that aspect.
Because of one's mindset of not wanting to lose, one is unable to admit one's mistake, the result being that one ends up choosing the wrong path. Admitting mistakes, conveying words of apology, and stepping down from power struggles, none of these things is defeat. The pursuit of superiority is not something that is carried out through competition with other people.
So when you're hung up on winning and losing, you lose the ability to make the right choices?
Yes.
Yes, it clouds your judgment, and all you can see is imminent victory or defeat. Then you turn down the wrong path. It's only when we take away the lenses of competition and winning and losing that we can begin to correct and change ourselves.
And that's people not being afraid to say that, hey, I was wrong and I made a mistake. That rarely happens in black spaces on social media. And I will go back to Kevin Samuels' interview with Kendra G. When Kendra G called into Kevin Samuels' show, I want y'all to remember back. It was a part at the end where he kept asking her, I want you to give me an age. Give me an age of when you think it would be best for women to get married. But she wouldn't give him the age because she knew that Kevin had her. Like, hey, you're one of the elders in the community. Let them know. What age do you think that young women should get married? But she just wouldn't do it. So he had to get her off the show. And to this day, Kendra has acknowledged Kevin Samuels, but she hasn't acknowledged him in a sense like, hey, everything that he said, that I was asking about, I learned from myself, and he was actually right. Because her ego and her need to be right won't allow her to do that. That was one of them. I would love for y'all to go back and watch that interview, because the same thing that Kendra G did with Kevin Samuels by calling into his show, she actually gives men a lot of shit for calling into her show and giving her pushback. It's crazy, right? Very ironic that she does this. And yeah, and I learned so much from that one particular interview because I actually referenced it when I did a video on Kendra G a while back, and how she finally understand what Kevin Samuels was talking about. So yeah, it was really good. So let's continue. So yeah, that was one of my favorite ones. And then we're gonna go to the follow-up. Oh, my bad. Dante Bryant, $2 bomb, said all in the videos. Dancing, singing, stripping bitches. Carte Blanche 1999 super chat said this is a donation for that revolt debate. I'm with all the smoke. Thank you, good brother. Let me give you a drop.
I took it back to my old energy, and she telling me she feel the chemistry. That's bullshit. She just know I'm rich, but keep going, sweetie.
Appreciate that, good brother. Thank you. Let's see here. All right. Okay. Wait, hold on. Dante Bryan 2 just said that KS Kendra G roast session was glorious. Yeah, it was very interesting to see, how she's learned, what she had to unlearn, I guess. Shout out to, was that Star Wars character? I don't know. But yeah, Yoda. All right. You must unlearn what you have unlearned or some shit. I don't know. Don't quote me. Okay. Let's get to fabricate. People fabricate anger, which is a follow-up. It's out of order. So you guys just listen to an excerpt from chapter 19. This is chapter 4. So I kind of skipped a little bit, but it's definitely for a reason. So here we go. You see.
Afternoon. I was reading a book in a coffee shop when a waiter passed by and spilled coffee on my jacket. I just bought it, and it's my nicest piece of clothing. I couldn't help it. I just blew my top. I yelled at him at the top of my lungs. I'm not normally the type of person who speaks loudly in public places, but yesterday, the shop was ringing with the sound of my shouting because I flew into a rage and forgot what I was doing.
So watch this, guys. And like I said, I've witnessed this in my household when I was young. You guys probably have too. Watch this.
So how about that? Is there any room for a goal to be involved here? No matter how you look at it, isn't this behavior that originates from a cause?
So, you were stimulated by the emotion of anger and ended up shouting. Though you are normally mild-mannered, you couldn't resist being angry. It was an unavoidable occurrence, and you couldn't do anything about it. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, because it happened so suddenly. The words just came out of my mouth before I had time to think.
Then, suppose you happened to have had a knife on you yesterday, and when you blew up, you got carried away and stabbed him. Would you still be able to justify that by saying, it was an unavoidable occurrence, and I couldn't do anything about it?
Come on, that's an extreme argument.
It is not an extreme argument. If we proceed with your reasoning, any offence committed in anger can be blamed on anger and will no longer be the responsibility of the person, because, essentially, you are saying that people cannot control their emotions.
Well, how do you explain my anger, then?
That's easy. You did not fly into a rage and then start shouting. It is solely that you got angry so that you could shout. In other words, in order to fulfill the goal of shouting, you created the emotion of anger.
What do you mean?
The goal of shouting came before anything else. That is to say, by shouting, you wanted to make the waiter submit to you and listen to what you had to say. As a means to do that, you fabricated the emotion of anger.
I fabricated it? You've got to be joking.
Then why did you raise your voice?
As I said before, I blew my top. I was deeply frustrated.
No. You could have explained matters without raising your voice, and the waiter would most likely have given you a sincere apology, wiped your jacket with a clean cloth, and taken other appropriate measures. He might have even arranged for it to be dry cleaned. And somewhere in your mind, you were anticipating that he might do these things, but even so, you shouted.
I'm going to stop it right there before they get to the example, but I do have to speak to the women. Ladies, you guys have to stop using your periods as an excuse to get crazy with men, because it's already socially accepted or embedded to understand that women get moody when they're on their monthly. Okay. And you guys know what I'm talking about. The attitude supposedly supposed to come. There's been multiple videos, little clips of men, throwing chocolate at his girl because he don't want to disturb her because she's going to go off on him when she's on her monthly. Y'all got to stop taking advantage of that, because guys remember that shit. Okay. Same thing in arguments. When a man is talking about something that happened right now, don't sit there and insult him based off of something he told you in confidence. Okay. We see that all the time. And that's why a lot of guys don't like to open up, because whatever traumas that they experienced and they trusted you with that, that experience that they had, and you weaponize it when you're in an argument with him, and then you like, oh, I was just mad, baby. How many dudes going to accept that in the chat? I was just mad, baby. I didn't mean it. Did you call me a fat fuck? Y'all know I'm laughing, but it ain't funny. But I've seen stuff like that where women will say something crazy and then try and just, oh, I was just mad. No, that's not an excuse. Okay. Let me get the super chat. Dante Bryan, $2 super chat said, you must unlearn what you have learned. That's what he said. Thank you, brother. Yeah, using that excuse. We know the game. All right, let's continue.
The procedure of explaining things in normal words felt like too much trouble, and you tried to get out of that and make this unresisting person submit to you. The tool you used to do this was the emotion of anger.
No way. You can't fool me. I manufactured anger in order to make him submit to me?
It sounds crazy, but watch this.
I swear to you, there wasn't even a second to think of such a thing. I didn't think it over and then get angry. Anger is a more impulsive emotion.
That's right. Anger is an instantaneous emotion. Now listen, I have a story. One day, a mother and daughter were quarreling loudly. Then suddenly the telephone rang. Hello? The mother picked up the receiver hurriedly, her voice still thick with anger. The caller was her daughter's homeroom teacher. As soon as the mother realized who was phoning, the tone of her voice changed and she became very polite. Then for the next 5 minutes or so, she carried on a conversation in her best telephone voice. Once she hung up, in a moment, her expression changed again, and she went straight back to yelling at her daughter.
Well, that's not a particularly unusual story.
Don't you see? In a word, anger is a tool that can be taken out as needed.
Did y'all get that? That I've seen that. My mom used to do that when we used it was our fault. We was acting an ass in the house, and she's sitting there yelling at us and just swung on us a couple times because we ain't do the dishes. Somebody called, oh, hey, girl, these kids. Oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Then she get off that phone. It is like, hey, I told y'all. And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I've seen that before. So it's a tool to get something done. So you can use it at your disposal when necessary. It's not a necessary thing that you just have to get mad if somebody spills something on you, unless it's on purpose, okay? Definitely understand that. But if a waiter spills something on you, your first instinct shouldn't be to get mad. It should be like he did this in an accident, and typically they're going to be apologetic and let me get that for you. It's going to be on me, the food on us, so on and so forth. But it's a tool that you can bring out. I've seen that happen multiple times in my childhood upbringing. I don't know if you guys can relate. Not saying that we had a dysfunctional household. It just is what it is. It happened. We was wilding, so we got to take that L. But let's continue.
Can be put away the moment the phone rings and pulled out again after one hangs up. The mother isn't yelling in anger she cannot control. She is simply using the anger to overpower her daughter with a loud voice and thereby assert her opinions.
So anger is a means to achieve a goal?
That is what teleology says.
Ah, I see now. Under that gentle-looking mask you wear, you're terribly nihilistic. Whether we're talking about anger or my reclusive friend, all your insights are stuffed with feelings of distrust for human beings.
And the guy, the little cynical young man, he's misunderstanding. He's simply saying, hey, I see people, I trust people to be people. That's just it. So that's why, when people have these ideas or opinions of, women are good and men are bad, or men are good, women are bad. It's like, nah, man, we all people. We all gonna mess up at some point. It just is what it is. And that's the nature of being human. But in that instance, you see that, the anger, nothing has ever been solved on social media by getting angry during a conversation. Have y'all noticed that? And if those types of outbursts were actually checked, I think we'd have better conversations. We'd be able to push these things forward to develop some solutions. But for the most part, it's just, oh man, I'm gonna get this money and I'm gonna let this crazy ass chick go, wild. I'm gonna let this, female leaning dude go crazy, and I'm gonna get the likes and views. And yeah, it's all bad. But yeah, so let's go. Dante Bryan, $2 super chat said, everybody got a black mama with white phone voice. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. I've had that experience before, but like I said, most of the times I deserved it. Sorry, mom. God bless you. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace to my mother. But yeah, I know I deserved that foolery. I was acting an ass. So every time I got swung on, it was for a reason. Except one time. I remember that. But for the most part, yeah, I was supposed to get swung on. So don't laugh, man. Ain't funny. My mom did deserve that. Yo, did I get the super chat? Let's see here. All right. Cool. All right, let's continue. So now, guys, here we go. We start to get into some information for the dudes. It's one of my favorite ones is why you dislike yourself. Pay attention.
Dislike yourself.
What I can do is to get the person first to accept myself now, and then, regardless of the outcome, have the courage to step forward. In Adlerian psychology, this kind of approach is called encouragement.
Encouragement?
Yes, I'll explain systematically what it consists of once our discussion has progressed a little further. We're not at that stage yet.
That works for me. In the meantime, I'll keep the word encouragement in mind.
Let's think about your problems. You say that at present you notice only your shortcomings, and it's unlikely that you'll ever come to like yourself. And then you said, I'm sure that no one would want to get involved with a guy as warped as me. I'm sure you understand this already. Why do you dislike yourself? Why do you focus only on your shortcomings, and why have you decided to not start liking yourself? It's because you are overly afraid of being disliked by other people and getting hurt in your interpersonal relationships.
Do y'all agree with that? Here we go.
What do you mean by that?
Just like the young woman with the fear of blushing, who was afraid of being rejected by the man, you are afraid of being negated by other people. You're afraid of being treated disparagingly, being refused, and sustaining deep mental wounds. You think that instead of getting entangled in such situations, it would be better if you just didn't have relations with anyone in the first place. In other words, your goal is to not get hurt in your relationships with other people.
Now, we talked about the guys who removed themselves from the dating market. This actually applies to you all. And that's why I put this video or this part of the book in this conversation. It could, I'm going to say could some of that be true? You just don't want to get hurt, so I'm just going to remove myself from the dating market completely. Because from what I see on social media, these women will hurt me. I don't want that, so I'm going to leave. Could that be true? Some of it, just a little bit. Think about it. Let's continue.
Now, how can that goal be realized? The answer is easy. Just find your shortcomings, start disliking yourself, and become someone who doesn't enter into interpersonal relationships. That way, if you can shut yourself into your own shell, you won't have to interact with anyone, and you'll even have a justification ready whenever other people snub you.
You see that? So the justification is all these women are crazy out here. It's definitely the women. So I'm just going to remove myself. Could some of this be true? That's good. Let's continue.
That it's because of your shortcomings that you get snubbed, and if things weren't this way, you too could be loved.
Shortcomings. Pause if I got to say it. But just remember that.
Well, you've really put me in my place now.
Don't be evasive. Being the way I am, with all these shortcomings, is for you a precious virtue. In other words, something that's to your benefit.
Ouch, that hurts. What a sadist. You are diabolical. Okay, yes, it's true. I am afraid. I don't want to get hurt in interpersonal relationships. I'm terrified of being snubbed for who I am. It's hard to admit it, but you are right.
So, and I'm glad that this young man is in here because you see how this pertains to these conversations. So in this instance, when people say I'm just going to be myself, you actually have to like who you are. Okay. So if you're comfortable in your own skin, as they say, you actually have to like the outcomes of being in your own skin. If you don't like the backlash or the response from people that you get from being yourself, then that's when you become one of, the people that essentially remove themselves because you don't like the response that you get from being yourself, because we're all taught to just simply be yourself and you'll be perfectly fine. But if being yourself doesn't give you the outcomes that you want, specifically on the dating market, are you willing to change, or are you willing to fix certain things so you can get better outcomes? And for the most part, from what I've seen, Most men aren't willing to make those changes, and they just want women to change and like them for the way that they are. Does that make sense? And we know that women aren't going to like you the way that you are. And if you're okay with that, then that's when you, like you said, you just got to become happy with yourself. If you're not, then you probably need to change some things. Okay, same thing with women. You guys understand it very well. I'm talking to the guys. You guys understand this very well when we talk about women being plus size. You'll see a plus size woman going crazy and saying that all the men on the dating market are chopped. I seen that video. All the men on the dating market chopped. They ugly. But everybody looking at her like, lady, you pushing 300 pounds. You don't have no place to talk. You can't get the outcomes that you want. We understand that, but when we talk about men, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna just be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm perfectly fine. But this book will actually challenge you to do some inner work, to ask yourself some questions. Can I improve? Am I truly happy with who I am right now? These are things we gotta think, man. Let's continue.
Admitting is a good attitude. But don't forget, it's basically impossible to not get hurt in your relations with other people. When you enter into interpersonal relationships, it is inevitable that to a greater or lesser extent, you will get hurt and you will hurt someone too. Adler says, to get rid of one's problems, all one can do is live in the universe all alone. But one can't do such a thing.
It said live in the universe all alone. With social media, that's like a contradiction because everything is readily available. And that's why I asked a question earlier for the guys that remove themselves from the dating market. If you remove yourselves, then why are you still in dating spaces, dating conversations? And that probably has to do with social media. So I absolutely give grace because you like, man, I got a phone and I want to hear what, I want to be involved in the conversation, even though I'm not in the dating market. And I was like, I never understood that. I used to respond to people like, well, if you don't care about the dating market, then why are you still commenting about the dating market? You should be off somewhere fishing or something. But it's like, nah, I'm just going to use this. You know, I'm just commenting because, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, it is what it is. So let's continue.
Wait a minute. I'm supposed to just let that one slip by? To get rid of one's problems, all one can do is live in the universe all alone? What do you mean by that? If you lived all alone, wouldn't you be horribly lonely?
Oh, but being alone isn't what makes you feel lonely. Loneliness is having other people and society and community around you and having a deep sense of being excluded from them. To feel lonely, we need other people. That is to say, it is only in social contexts that a person becomes an individual.
If you were really alone, that is, if you existed completely alone in the universe, you wouldn't be an individual and you wouldn't feel lonely either?
I suppose the very concept of loneliness wouldn't even come up. You wouldn't need language, and there'd be no use for logic or common sense either. But such a thing is impossible. Even if you lived on an uninhabited island, you would think about someone far across the ocean. Even if you spend your nights alone, you strain your ears to hear the sound of someone's breath. As long as there is someone out there somewhere, you will be haunted by loneliness.
So in certain instances, like I said, I'm not a guy who would want to be lonely, but there are some guys that hang their hats on being lonely. You can ask yourself, are you actually coping with loneliness? Right? And you just like, hey, it's something that I got to do because I may not be willing to change. Or it could be, I'm okay with who I am now and I don't want to change, and I'm perfectly fine with that. If that's the case, cool. But social media makes being lonely tougher than it was in the past, because you see everybody playing and having fun or whatever on a day-to-day basis, and it's tough for you to be alone or lonely, you know. And you see happy couples, and sometimes people who have a disdain for women or disdain for men, they'll say something crazy. Yeah, it's all fine until they cheat on you or something like that. So yeah, it's something that you can think about, because I personally don't think that we were put on this earth to be alone. And that's why I don't argue the point when I hear both men and women say it, especially, you know, when a woman is on the dating market and she say, I don't want marriage, I'm not going to argue with her because men will find some use out of you if you still out here running around in these streets. Okay? So there's no reason to argue. If you believe it, cool. But you're the only one that got to go back to your house and face yourself in the mirror and ask those hard questions. Are you crying at night because you really want something, but you're trying to be strong in front of the public eye, in front of social media, by telling everybody else and then trying to convert other women to be lonely or hate men just like you hate men so you can have some company when y'all eating hungry man dinners together or something like that? Is that what's going on? We can't tell and we can't question you about it because we don't know, because the facade that you may be putting on is believable, but when you get home, it may be tough. Same thing for the guys. If you think that, okay, I'm gonna just be alone, like I said, I don't think it's you know, we're not put on this earth to be lonely. That's just me. Interpersonal relationships are very important. So, in my opinion. So here, Ali Broderick, $5 super chat said, welcome back, bro. This kind of reminds me of how Steve Urkel loved Laura so much. No matter how she mistreated him, he transformed himself. Yeah. And I always use Steve Urkel and Stefan Urkel in regards to, you know, both of them. I mean, it's still the same guy, so to speak. But like you said, he went into the little chamber and changed himself. So let's continue. Here we go.
But then you could just rephrase that as, if one could live in the universe all alone, one's problems would go away. Couldn't you?
In theory, yes. As Adler goes so far as to assert, all problems are interpersonal relationship problems.
Can you say that again?
We can repeat it as many times as you like. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems.
All right. Carte Blanche said, so if I'm not interested in dating or done with the scene currently, should I not have an opinion with the current state of dating? Tell me why. No, seriously, no. I want to know, why would you have an opinion on the state of current dating? Because you don't care. I'm going to clip this up. I would love for you to explain why. Because if you have an opinion on it, then that would lead me to believe that you would want some things to change so you can enter back into the dating market. And if those things do change, then you're open to dating. Is that a fair assessment or a fair assumption? Because you said opinions. So yeah, my opinion on the dating market is this, and this. And I'm assuming those opinions come with solutions. So if certain things change, are you willing to enter back into the dating market? And that would be, in my opinion, that would be you coping with your loneliness, because you really don't want to be out of the dating market. You want to be here, but you just want things to change. And that's perfectly fine. So yeah, so like I said, I would want to know why you would have opinions on the dating market if you have no intention on coming back to the dating market. Okay? All right, so let's continue. Fair use.
This is a concept that runs to the very root of Adlerian psychology. If all interpersonal relationships were gone from this world, which is to say, if one were alone in the universe and all other people were gone, all manner of problems would disappear.
That's a lie. It's nothing more than academic sophistry.
Of course, we cannot do without interpersonal relationships. A human being's existence, in its very essence, assumes the existence of other human beings. Living completely separate from others is, in principle, impossible. As you are indicating, the premise, if one could live all alone in the universe, is unsound.
That's not the issue I am talking about. Sure, interpersonal relationships are probably a big problem. That much I acknowledge. But to say that everything comes down to interpersonal relationship problems, now that's really an extreme position. What about the worry of being cut off from interpersonal relationships? The kind of problems that an individual agonizes over as an individual, problems directed to oneself. Do you deny all that?
Well, you said, Carte Blanche said, good point. And let me be clear, Carte Blanche, because I talk about a myriad of things on my channel. So I'm not telling you, hey man, you shouldn't be in my channel. Nah, this book. We talking about this book. We do the little pop the balloon. I know that's dating and stuff, but we do so many things on this channel. But I'm just more so talking to the guys that still don't mind, putting crazy stuff in the chat, but then and I'm going off of my experience as a content creator, I've seen guys do that. They'll have opinions and now question, like, man, like, hey, why'd you say that or whatever? Well, I don't care. I'll remove myself from the dating market. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, well, why are you here? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why are you talking about this in the chat? So yeah, I always wanted to know why. So he said, no, I'm an avid follower. I was just curious. Bro, I'm curious. That's why I'm curious as to know why. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to learn. I'm not judging anybody. Who am I? I'm just a dude, but I'm trying to understand. I learn from y'all all the time in the chat. So I'm just trying to understand the process, the thought process of a person who's removed themselves from the dating market, but still talking about dating and relationship conversations. I just never saw a point, but maybe you do, and hopefully y'all can teach me. And that's just not the carte blanche. That's to anybody. If you have an answer or what you think an answer could be, let me know. If it's entertainment and you just like, I just want to get my shit off, cool. I would question, your is that beneficial to your mental health? Because but if that's the reason, who am I? So, okay, let's continue.
There is no such thing as worry that is completely defined by the individual. So-called internal worry does not exist. Whatever the worry that may arise, the shadows of other people are always present.
But still, you are a philosopher. Human beings have loftier, greater problems than things like interpersonal relationships. What is happiness? What is freedom? And what is the meaning of life? Aren't these the themes that philosophers have been investigating ever since the ancient Greeks? And you're saying, so what? Interpersonal relationships are everything? It seems kind of pedestrian to me. It's hard to believe that a philosopher would say such things.
Well then, it seems there's a need to explain things a bit more concretely.
Yes, please do.
You see the young guy, he's pressing him, but his, like I said, his cynicism and his pessimistic thought process is good for the book. So okay.
If you're going to tell me that you're a philosopher, then you've got to really explain things. Or else, this makes no sense.
You were so afraid of interpersonal relationships that you came to dislike yourself. You've avoided interpersonal relationships by disliking yourself.
Feelings of inferiority are subjective assumptions.
Now this one is good. Man, watch this. And watch what I bring up. Hold on.
Let's look at interpersonal relationships from a slightly different perspective. Are you familiar with the term feeling of inferiority?
What a silly question. As you can surely tell from our discussion up to now, I'm just a huge blob of feelings of inferiority.
What are those feelings, specifically?
Well, for instance, if I see something in a newspaper about a person around my age, someone who's really successful, I'm always overcome with these feelings of inferiority. If someone else who's lived the same amount of time I have is so successful, then what on earth am I doing with myself?
My God, that is social media. Lord have mercy. Y'all, and that's why I don't know if some of the guys who tend to enjoy the finance stuff that we talk about, when I first got into these spaces, I would just address like the $100,000 statistic. I would show you guys how many people make $100,000 and I would move on. But what I didn't understand is that in social media, we have people of different age groups, especially let's talk to the guys. So we have people in different age groups. When you just throw out a number of men should be making $100,000, that 20-year-old guy is listening. And he's like, damn, man, at 20 years old, I need to be making $100,000. It's like, no, bro. So then that's when I took a step back and I was like, let me start showing the age, income that the average person makes between 20 and 24. So I can give young men and young women somewhat of a a roadmap as to where you stand, our barometer of where you stand right now. You're perfectly fine. You're doing better than the rest. You're behind. But the end goal was just not simply $100,000, because that could cause some issues with those young people trying to do certain things that they're not supposed to do to get that money. You know what I'm saying? Something illegal just to say that I make $100,000. Yes, it would be great if you are a young person and you making that kind of money. Absolutely, get your money. But when we put that cap and just say $100,000, everybody is listening. Okay, and then I showed you guys that even at the the very top of the earnings report, the man doesn't even make $100,000. And that's when I started getting more people comment like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I don't know if y'all remember that, or it's people in the comment section saying, yeah, I'm where I'm supposed to be, or I got some work to do. But it was an obtainable goal to where you were right then and there. Okay. So yeah, so it was very tough. And it took me a little while to understand, because I didn't want to put those high expectations on young men just because they hear women say that I want a man to make $100,000. Does that make sense? So yeah, so I had to really change my thought process on social media. Instead of somewhat responding, I had to be like, well, how can I teach and help these guys and these women understand where they stand right now? And it's a lot of young men that still kind of use it. I still get comments on that community post. It's way down there, but for some odd reason they find it and they'll say, yeah, I'm where I'm supposed to be. I may have a video that I clipped up from that. If I didn't, then I'm gonna do that. I'll find the live stream. But yeah, that's very important, because we put these high expectations, especially on men. And I'm like, bro, you not necessarily saying you're supposed to be broke and poor, but it's not normal to be making $100,000 at the age of 20 or 24. I don't know how old Kai Cenat is, but that brother getting that bread. He is the minority. All right. So so yeah, so I have to explain this just to be clear. So all right, let's continue. Fair use.
Or when I see a friend who seems happy, before I even feel like celebrating with him, I'm filled with envy and frustration. Of course, this pimple-covered face doesn't help matters, and I've got strong feelings of inferiority when it comes to my education and occupation. And then there's my income and social standing. I guess I'm just completely riddled with feelings of inferiority.
See?
I see. Incidentally, Adler is thought to be the first to use the term feeling of inferiority in the kind of context in which it is spoken of today.
Huh. I didn't know that.
In Adler's native German, the word is Minderwertigkeitsgefühl, which means a feeling, Gefühl, of having less, minder, worth, Wert. So feeling of inferiority has to do with one's value judgment of oneself.
Value judgment?
And that value judgment is actually compared to the people that you see on social media, especially if you're a younger guy and you see somebody the same age as you and they're making a lot of money. That can make you feel inferior, because you see it all the time on social media. And that's why, you see it. You see a lot of things on social media. People don't like to feel left out. That's why that movie, what was that movie? In Too Deep, where LL Cool J's character, God, he was saying people just want to be a part of something. Y'all remember that part when they was driving in the car? And he was like, I just give him that. But he was talking about drugs. But it's like people just want to be a part of something. And you know what's funny? I actually saw that with Kevin Samuels' High Value thing. Y'all remember that? So when Kevin Samuels came out with High Value and he gave the parameters, the 6 pillars of being a high value man. I can't shoot them off all at once, but he said $100,000 a year adjusted for where you live. Okay. Everybody heard that. Kevin Samuels was so popular that people just wanted to be a part of something. And that's when you got guys who who didn't qualify to be considered a high value man. They were calling themselves high value men. Does that make sense? So you didn't want to feel left out, but it also, if you were a smart guy, it may have motivated you to do more so you can get to that particular level, depending on how much stock you placed into being a high value man. I saw that all the time. And that's where most of the issues came in, because there would be guys who you could visibly see that didn't fall into the high value category, but they wanted to be a part of something. So they just consider themselves high value. And I know people try and come up with their own definitions. Just remember, it was out there before, but Kevin Samuels made it popular. And I know everybody got their own definition, but he was the one that actually started the conversation around the high value man, which is something that everybody wanted to be associated with. Okay. Let's see here. We got a super chat, my bad, brother. Project Leroy, $10 bomb said, greetings, meeting man. Halfway through the year, yet the experiences keep on growing. Fellas, get your skills up, refine those skills, and experience new environments. Absolutely. Good words of wisdom. Thank you, good brother. Hold on. Let me get you a drop here.
I took it back to my old energy. And she telling me she feel the chemistry. That's bullshit. She just know I'm rich. But keep going, sweetie.
All right. Let's get to it. Let's get back.
The feeling that one has no worth, or that one is worth only so much.
Ah, that's a feeling I know well. That's me, in a nutshell. Not a day goes by without me tormenting myself that there's no point in being alive.
Well, then let's have a look at my own feelings of inferiority. When you first met me, what was your impression in terms of physical characteristics?
All right, here we go. You are short.
Well...
There's no need to hold back. Be direct.
All right. I guess you were smaller than I'd imagined.
Thank you. I am 61 inches tall. Adler was apparently around the same height. There was a time, until I was right around your age actually, when I was concerned about my height. I was sure that things would be different if I were of average height, 8 or even just 4 inches taller, as if a more enjoyable life were waiting for me. I talked to a friend about it when I was having these feelings, and he said it was a bunch of nonsense and simply dismissed it.
That's horrible. Some friend.
And then he said, what would you do if you got taller? You know, you've got a gift for getting people to relax.
That's a question that I would love to ask to the shorter guys. You guys hear women talk about height all the time, but what would you actually do if God just simply blessed you with another, if you were a foot taller or something like that? What would you do? Would your purpose of being taller just be to sneak in with women? I always want to ask that. Like if you get taller, it's just to sneak in. What else would you do if you just simply if you got taller? Even the guy, that guy's going viral for the lengthening surgery or whatever, the black dude. I would love to know what he plans on doing with this height. Like why he got it. I get it. You want to be taller, but then after you're taller, then what? What is the purpose of you getting taller? Have y'all ever thought of that? Like what is the purpose? Is it just to sneak in with women? It's got to be something else. You trying to get a better job? I don't know. Because that could be a reason. Guys in C-suite positions tend to be above. It's like, taller guys tend to get more C-suite positions or something like that. So our company owners or something. I forgot the statistic. I may be quoting it wrong, but it was something. But I would love to know. Let's continue.
With a man who's big and strong, it's true, it does seem he can end up intimidating people just because of his size. With someone small, like me, on the other hand, people let go of their wariness. So it made me realize that having a small build was a desirable thing both to me and to those around me.
So, and I want to explain that real quick. He's saying, me being shorter, people tend to relax because they don't see you as a threat, especially if you're not working out and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that they're ready to try you. Absolutely not. That is not the first thing in most people's minds when they see a shorter guy. All right. But it does put people at ease as opposed to, let's say, a taller guy who is literally towering over everybody. And then also a taller guy with muscles. The first thing people are going to think like, man, I wouldn't want to get hit by that guy. You know what I'm saying? Or let me go ahead and just relax and, see what this dude wants. Even if this guy's the coolest dude in the world, it's just a perception that a lot of people have. And I remember there's a There's a content creator. He just takes videos. He's a big dude, muscular dude. He's about damn near 7 feet. And he has somebody film him walking through the streets, like from the behind. And he'll just film the reactions of people seeing this guy, this tall dude with muscles, walk through the street. Like they're just like, whoa, you know? So yeah, so let's see here. IQ has a $2 bomb, says save his challenge, sent via email. Yeah, I shouted you out. Look on the community post. I actually put you and Jay Fleming as he sent in your pictures. So I did shout you out on there. Go and check the community post. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Here we go.
In other words, there was a transformation of values. I'm not worried about my height anymore.
Okay, but that's...
Wait until I'm finished. The important thing here is that my height of 61 inches wasn't inferior.
It wasn't inferior?
It was not, in fact, lacking in or lesser than something. Sure, my 61 inches is less than the average height and an objectively measured number. At first glance, one might think it inferior. But the issue is really what sort of meaning I attribute to that height, what sort of value I give it.
What does that mean?
My feelings about my height were all subjective feelings of inferiority, which arose entirely through my comparing myself to others. That is to say, in my interpersonal relationships. Because if there hadn't been anyone with whom to compare myself, I wouldn't have had any occasion to think I was short. Right now, you too are suffering from various feelings of inferiority. But please understand that what you are feeling is not an objective inferiority, but a subjective feeling of inferiority. Even with an issue like height, it's all reduced to its subjectivity.
In other words, the feelings of inferiority we're suffering from are subjective interpretations rather than objective facts?
Exactly. Seeing it from my friend's point of view, that I get people to relax or that I don't intimidate them, such aspects can become strong points. Of course,
you hear what he said? You don't intimidate them. Now, like I said, it's a little bit of a difference when you're a shorter guy and you know what I'm saying, you don't work out and you just kind of skinny fat. It is what it is. There's no intimidation there. I'm a shorter guy. I'm 5'8" and 3/4. I done showed y'all my medical records before. Okay. But I'm wide as a house. I work out. That doesn't mean I'm sitting there intimidating everybody that I walk past. However, it will raise the cause for concern. Be like, hey, man, I'm not inclined to try a dude like that. And that's like a preventative measure. Or I want to be cool with this guy, or I want to know how this guy works out. Because what I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure that guys who work out, you probably notice this as well. Men in public, they will try and get into your good graces by saying something about your physique first. You know what I'm saying? Like that happens all the time. I remember when I was in the chiropractic office, I was getting some treatment done. This is like last year. Another black dude was in there. He walked past. He was like, the first thing he did, he stood next to me and he was like, he did like this, like, and he was like looking at me. And I was like, he was like, man, he's like, what you doing? He's like, man, you know what I'm saying? He's like, you done. You don't need to work out. And we just became cool. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be cool with this dude because he worked out, seemed like he take it really serious. And it's funny. That happens all the time. I was in the Galleria Mall one time and I wasn't trying to be arrogant, but I was walking past and one of the, the little shoe cleaner guys in the middle of the mall, he was like, hey, big man, hey, big man. Hey, big man. And I didn't want to just assume that he was talking to me. And he kept saying it. And I turned around. He was like, yeah, man. He's like, you need me to clean your shoes, big man? I was like, oh, no, I'm good, brother. So that's what happens all the time. Like it's, we'll be out and somebody will say something. It's like a disarming mechanism. And it's like, yeah, I'm not necessarily willing to try that guy. And they don't know if I can fight or not. They don't know if I know how to shoot a firearm. They don't know that. They just like, yeah. But so with taller guys, it's on a whole other level. And you put a little muscle on a taller guy, yeah, that level of respect is automatically going to be given because of that fact. I don't want to be hit by that dude, it just happens. So let's see here. Dante Bryan 2000 just said, I would look down on people. It's funny. Look down on people. Oh, man. Let's see here. All right, let's continue. And I got stuff for the ladies, too. They ain't going to like what I'm about to say, but here you go.
this is a subjective interpretation. You could even say it's an arbitrary assumption. However, there is one good thing about subjectivity. It allows you to make your own choice. Precisely because I am leaving it to subjectivity, the choice to view my height as either an advantage or disadvantage is left open to me.
It's up to you.
The argument that you can choose a new lifestyle?
That's right. We cannot alter objective facts, but subjective interpretations can be altered as much as one likes. And we are inhabitants of a subjective world.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this at the very beginning.
That's something that you just have to accept, ladies. Everybody don't get the same opportunities. And I told y'all one of my favorite jokes, and it's so crass, and I hate repeating it, but I got to because I love comedy. Y'all know who Daniel Tosh is? He said, being an ugly woman is like being a man. You're going to have to work a little. Jesus. Oh, my God. That dude is a fool. Lord have mercy. Okay. Leon King, $2 super chat. Working out is one of the best icebreakers. It is, man. It definitely is. Thank you for that super chat. You're going to have to work a little.
Right?
Yes. The well water, that's 60 degrees.
Now remember the German word for a feeling of inferiority, Minderwertigkeitsgefühl. As I mentioned a moment ago, feeling of inferiority is a term that has to do with one's value judgment of oneself. So what on earth could this value be? Okay, take diamonds, for instance, which are traded at a high value, or currency. We find particular values for these things and say that 1 carat is this much, that prices are such and such. But if you change your point of view, a diamond is nothing but a little stone.
Well, intellectually it is.
In other words, value is something that's based on a social context. The value given to a $1 bill is not an objectively attributed value, though that might be a common-sense approach. If one considers its actual cost as printed material, the value is nowhere near $1. If I were the only person in this world and no one else existed, I'd probably be putting those $1 bills in my fireplace in wintertime. Maybe I'd be using them to blow my nose. Following exactly the same logic, there should have been no reason at all for me to worry about my height.
If you were the only person in this world and no one else existed?
Yes. The problem of value in the end brings us back to interpersonal relationships again.
So this connects to what you were saying about all problems being interpersonal relationship problems?
Yes, that's correct.
There it is, man. That whole short thing is definitely something that's an issue in these spaces. And I get it, guys. I put that in there for this particular reason because of the social media conversations. Bro, it ain't nothing you can do. You know what I'm saying? And I've said this and multiple other people have said this. You just got to pick a struggle. If you're a shorter guy, then you can't be fat. And you got to have a little bit of bread. Okay? You got to pick one. And God gave you the struggle of being short if you want to consider it a struggle. All right? But just don't couple it with other things. And also, in regards to the feelings of inferiority, before we get out of here, I wanted to address this, and this is something that I learned. And women who fit this criteria, they will never admit this publicly. So don't expect them to. I just know that this happens. It did happen. When Kevin Samuels had his show, I never understood why a woman would call into his show just to argue. Because if you don't like him, then why are you calling into his show? And then, like I said, I was reading this book and the feelings of inferiority. The reason why they called into Kevin Samuels' show is because they actually they valued his opinion. And again, they're not going to admit this because they thought that if I come up there as an overweight woman, or if I come up there as a woman with 3 kids, I'm different. So I can change his mind. So if he listen to me, he gonna just see that I'm just this different woman, and he's going to affirm me, and I'm going to get his validation, which makes me feel good. Kevin Samuels saying, hey, you look like a linebacker, don't apply to me. I'm different. Okay? And like I said, I'm going to repeat myself one more time. They're not going to admit this. And the reason why I know that they value Kevin Samuels' opinion is because when he didn't validate them, they would always find a panderer who would, which means that they value a man's opinion. You hear women say that all the time when you get a black man who panders to black women. A man said it, so you know it's true. They value men's opinions, but they won't admit it publicly. The proof is in the pudding. And that's why I used to love to watch the show, because I figured out what it was. You know, and like I said, even Kendra G won't admit the stuff that Kevin Samuels said, because she called into a show trying to get his validation, and when she didn't get it, she immediately got angry and turned into his enemy. And then when you start to hear other men saying the same thing that Kevin Samuels is saying, it makes that woman feel inferior, because she's now starting to understand how most men think. Okay, and I said most because women like to hold on, you know, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No. They want to go with the possible. It's possible to get this guy, even though I got 3 kids. So yeah, and like I said, man, they're not going to admit this. But the only reason why you would call into somebody's show you said that you don't like is because you thought that you were different and value his opinion. And I really wish that somebody would have. I wonder, I always think if Kevin Samuels actually knew that. Because people used to say, well, I don't even know why these women call into a show. Why else would they call into a show? Because they know that he's setting a particular standard that they probably don't meet. So they're trying to change his mind. You see how that makes sense? And like I said, you read this book and you'll start to understand how people really feel about certain things. And that's why I was harping on the guys who leave the dating market. I'm like, man, do you really feel like that? Or do you just simply want things to change? You know, and if there's any way that I can help, you know, you change, you know, because I'm saying this very sincerely, because I don't think people were put on this earth to be lonely. You know what I'm saying? And just, you know, quote unquote, die alone. Right. So if there is anything that I can do personally to help you join back into the dating market, then I'm willing to do that, because I know that it may be, you know what I'm saying, some hope there. But if not, I mean, F me. You know what I'm saying? You might be F media, man. but yeah, but I'm willing to help. I'm trying to do as much as I can. I know it's tough, man. I see what y'all going through. I do. I see everything. I got a bird's eye view. You know what I'm saying? From the content that y'all send me, you know, it's crazy. I remember I opened up TikTok and it was some girl saying, yeah, I'm done dating black men. And that was just in the morning. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it is what it is. But I see it all, man. So I'm definitely willing to help. And hopefully this book helps both men and women, especially the ones who think like that, you know, and you don't want to change. I know that's got to be a tough go at it. If you were a woman and you'd never heard a man be honest with you, and the first time you hear it is Kevin Samuels, and then you got 20,000 men in the comments saying, yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's like, what? Why nobody ain't told me? And it's like, well, because you've been hanging around a lot of women, and they're going to affirm you because they don't want to hurt you. And they're going to tell you that you look good in this dress when you actually don't. And it's sad, but men and women are different. We talk to women differently. And that's why you start to see a lot of women saying, hey, if you want dating advice, you need to go to your male friends. Have y'all seen these videos? There are women literally going viral right now saying, hey, you want the real? You got to talk to your male friends. And then when you talk to your male friends, you got to actually listen. Okay? You got to implement some of these things that they're telling you. Don't just get his advice and then go out and do what you want. Next thing you know, you're pregnant. It's like, I told your ass. And yeah, it's going to do what they want. But yeah, you see that, you know, more often. Talk to men. Talk to men. I say that all the time, but women don't be listening. So some of them don't listen. But yeah, we'll be all right. But yeah, so let me put the link to this book here. I really want y'all to grab this. Like I said, this ends our last book review for Men's Mental Health Month. There's so much more. It's an easy read, guys. Chapters, very short. It's an amazing book. I enjoyed it so much. Hold on. I'm going to put the link in here so you guys can grab that. I think this should be it. Hold on. Because I know Amazon got it. The Courage. There we go. Oh, it's already in my little deal. Give me a second. Got to give them some credit. Bam. Here we go. Bam. All right. So that's the link to the Amazon book. So you should be good to go. See. HVAC man, $5 super chat said it's like telling a fat woman she fat, but don't listen. Can't win with that except dismissing her. Yeah, like I said, you got to actually listen to that advice because I'm going to be honest with the women. Most of y'all dating issues could be solved if you just got in shape. I mean, it's that simple. I'm not saying it's guaranteeing you a husband, but you definitely gonna get more options. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get all dudes vying for your attention. And I'm not saying that, I mean, shit, I am saying it. Just get in shape and you'll have a better go at it. And they ain't got you, black women. I'm not even talking about dating black men. You could whoever you want. And I wish men pray that it was that easy. Seriously, y'all don't know what dudes got to go through to be attractive to women, man. Like, yeah, you get the one-offs where the dude is just, so handsome or in shape and you get to skip the line. But for the majority of men, you got to do so much. You got to do so much. And that includes working out, man. I've been working out for 20 years, man. I want to stay sexy, you know what I'm saying? To my wife, I got to get in there. I got to do what I need to do to be competitive with these young bucks, you know what I'm saying? Throwing up big weight. So yeah, man, we got to do so much, man. Money, Jesus. Men pray for times like this. So y'all got it fairly easy. And you may not think so. If all I had to do was go to the gym when I was on the dating market and just, and I could get, all the top of the top after me, bro, you know how many men would take that deal? In the chat, they tell you, so you telling me all I got to do is work out and, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to get, all the models that I want? How many dudes would take that deal in a heartbeat? Ladies, y'all don't know how easy it is. But yeah, I ain't the right guy. Like, you gonna get an influx. I did that video of the woman, forgot her name, it was a content creator. She was a bigger woman. She lost all kinds of weight. And she, in that video, she said that she don't think she saw a difference. But then she mentioned, well, all the guys, you know what I'm saying? I got more guys that are attracted to me and more, better options. I was like, yeah, that's the difference. But she didn't see it like that. She was like, well, guys are all the same. But she did mention one thing. She said when she was chubbier, dudes were far more honest with her. And what she was saying, she was like, yeah, when I was chubby, a guy didn't mind coming up to me saying, hey, let me hit that thing, just quick. Because she chubby. And they like, yeah, I could talk to this woman like that. And she'd be honored to deal with me because she's chubby. And I put that Patrice O'Neal clip in there where he was talking about that. He was just like, yeah, man, you could tell a woman that, hey, I want to sneak in with you right now. And you could talk to a chubby woman like that. But when you in shape and you're an attractive woman, men have to be a little bit more sneaky. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy you flowers. Shout out to Patrice O'Neal. I'm gonna buy you flowers and I'll treat you right. You just can't go in and say, hey, I want to sneak in with you right now. No dude really talks to, attractive women, like physically attractive women like that. Let me say that. Yes, see, Mark has a video. Yes, we do. I pray a lot. Yeah, man. It's like, he ain't lying. Who wouldn't take that deal? All I got to do is work out. LJ. It's so funny. What who's that said in the comment section? It was something. I forgot. Somebody said something funny in the comment section about working out. I forgot. But yeah, we take that deal. Like shit. Oh, he was saying, if you're a young woman with no kids, there ain't no excuse for you to be out of shape. I tend to agree outside of physical, or any, diseases or issues, health issues that you may have. If you're a younger woman and you out of shape in your prime years, you wasting it. I'm sorry. I mean, you can rely on the 1% of men who would, marry a young plus size woman. And I just be feeling so bad. Like, man, y'all just go to the gym, young lady. It ain't gonna take much. Y'all saying you making all this bread, buy you a treadmill, wake up in the morning, do some fasted cardio, drink nothing but liquids, before, only liquids before 12, and you'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Just something simple. Do some cardio. I don't know. You wasted your prime years by going. Oh, so sad. So sad. Jesus. Oh man. Carte Blanche, what up though? 199 super chat said, do you do one-on-one counseling? Yeah, man. Let me IQS put the link in the description. Oh, thank you, brother. Yeah, I do. Actually, I have, I kept this one off the screen. I got a little private deal going on with some of my. So let me say this, Carte Blanche. Some of the dudes that watch my channel, I know y'all brothers watching. I'm talking to you, John. I know you see me. Brother John, I'm not going to say his full name, but he's in New York. He works at one of the top attorney firms or some shit like that. Man, that brother making a lot of money. So we were talking about some plans in the works. But yeah, they pay up front. Like they pay for a while. And we used to be in there talking. I'm like, brother, you ain't got to do this, but the conversations be good. And again, Carte Blanche, bro, I'm not a therapist or anything like that. And I make it very clear that if you call me, I just give you my opinion based off of my experiences. I am a subject matter expert in public health, military. We could talk about that, fitness, nutrition, dating. But yeah, I'm not even claim that I'm some, dating guru or relationship guru, marriage guru. Nah, man. But I tend to see the world for how it is and not how it should be. And that bodes well for understanding and conversations and listening. I'm a good listener. So yeah, so if you want to book a consult, perfectly fine to do that, brothers. Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see here. The Real Books, $5 super chat said women compliment each other and don't mean it. Men insult each other and don't mean it. Great show me the men. Okay. Appreciate that. Oliver, what up though? $5 super chat said, thanks for the live media, man. Just opened my separate HYS account today. I will send my screenshot on IG tomorrow when my deposit reflects. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Hashtag high yield savings challenge. Absolutely. Hey man, this is gonna be fun. Oh man, I can't wait. And then just wait until we get to the end of the year. People gonna see that bread. They gonna be like, man, what I'm gonna do? What I'm gonna invest in? I'm gonna take this to the market and see what I can do. Or you can splurge on. So I don't know what you're gonna do. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna flip it and dip it. Well, we gonna flip it and dip it. Flip it and dip. that extra high yield savings account, but this is gonna be fun, man. Hopefully y'all beat me. You know, you get better rates than me. And we'll see how it shakes out at the end of the year. It's definitely gonna be fun. So I thank you for gifting another Media Man membership. If you were so lucky to get that, please make sure you maintain it. It's definitely gonna be fun. Oh my God. This is gonna be fun. So all right, man. I think I take up too much of y'all time over these past couple of live streams. 5 hours, 4 hours. Sweet Christmas. Okay. June was definitely an amazing month. And I will post the books that we actually reviewed on the community post after this. So you guys can have you know what I'm saying, to see which ones you want to purchase. I'm not sponsored by any of them, guys. I'm just giving the knowledge that I have. I mean, I got a gang of books over here that we probably could review. But I'll find some of the ones that I have on my coffee table. So, and I am taking recommendations. If you want to recommend some books, like who's that? Poohman? Was that you that recommended the book? Yeah, but just put them under the community post and we'll see what we can do. I want to make this a recurring theme. Ladies, if you have a book, because you guys tend to have different tastes in books that you read, let me know. Put it in the chat or under the community post, or send me a DM with the book that you recommend, and we'll definitely get back to it. I have an idea of a book that I want to review, but I don't know if I can get away with it on I don't know if I can get away with reviewing Street Players. How can we get away with reviewing Donna Goines' Street Players? This is one of my favorite books, man. Don't tell nobody, man. I don't want them to think that I'm... Have y'all read this before? I was thinking about it. I was like, man, how can I sneak this in there? It's going to be a whole lot of editing, but I'm going to try. Yo, yeah, I ain't going to do that. I ain't going to do that to you. They're going to kick me off. So, and y'all need this type of game, man. That's going to turn you into crazies. All right. So, yeah. Don't give me no ideas because I definitely make it happen. But I got some books that I want to review, and we definitely going to bring it back on in July. So appreciate everybody for sending the super chats. Thank you for the comments. Carte Blanche, thank you for giving us insight. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it wasn't nothing personal. I'm just trying to learn, man. All right. So yeah, appreciate the support. God bless y'all. Be safe out there, man. Enjoy July. My favorite month of the year. My birthday is in July. So yes, happy to be here in good health. Man, life is good. You know, shout out to Future. So all right, y'all. Peace out. Thank you. I'll leave you with we haven't done the ladies, the 90s ladies in a while. So here you go. So thank y'all. God bless. Medium Men out. Peace.
I'm on a quest to make you mine, and I just can't stop swinging, 'cause you're so fine, and I gotta do it, got to go through it. Hey, you're so fine. On the real though, could you be mine? Your pretty brown eyes are driving me wild, babe. On the real, could you be mine? Oh, 'cause I'm on a quest to make you mine, and I just can't stop swinging, 'cause you're so fine, and I gotta do it, got to go through it. Hey, you're so fine. On the real though, could you be mine? Your pretty brown eyes are driving me wild, babe. On the real, could you be mine? stop swinging, cause you're so fine. And